Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Ask Abhijit show. I hope everybody is doing great. Uh, Today is a nice Sunday evening over here, wherever I am. And yeah, things have changed. The war seems to currently be on a pause. The war that was really raging the past 72 hours. Last evening, it took a pause. Something's happened, and here we are today. Looks like things have changed. So we're going to discuss all that, but let me see first of all who all is there on the live stream. I can see Tejas, Dungar Singh Chauhan, Raj, Mr. 88ers, and Robida Live, Saroj Kumar Marai, Animish, Mr. Bin Salman 786, Aditya Tripathi, Mr. Jam, Minakshi, Vikram 2001, Kamal, Vinay Rai, Sujay Hegde, Ashish Singh, Geopolitical Dube, Ultimate Rover, God, Suhas Reddy, Alu, Vamshi Kalem, Shiva Sai, Gojo, Mojo, Eklavya, Spandan Mukherjee, Animesh, again, Ansh, Shri Jawaharlal Nehruji is here, Shivam Pandey, Dhruv Durya, Nihal Sharma Das Vinit, Aditya Garg, Karan Nalawat, Jai Shri Ram, Nitin Kumar, Der Kaiser, Shubham Rana, Shantanu Yadav, T.S. Rag, Aryan Chauhan, Jeet Singh, Arnav Gaurian, yes, Shailesh Babar, Bhai Bhai, Priyanjan, Manoj Billur, Nagendra Prasad, Lone Walker, Sahil Gupta, Tushar S07, Sukhpal Singh, Dipanshu Uppal, Baltzi, Changing India, Komal Singh, Akshay Kumar, Arnav, Jeet Singh, Parth Kaushal, Nirab Karki, and everybody else. So, good evening, good day to all of you, wherever you are in the world. You are very welcome, and let's discuss what's happening. What has happened? Let's get going with the questions. I can see some more people. Swastik, Sajitha, Raghav, Nilotpal, Ashish Singh, Irana, and everybody else. All right, please go ahead with your questions and let's discuss the changed situation. The situation has changed. Contra is a fortune seer. Contra says, I told you nothing's gonna happen. Has nothing happened? I think lots has happened, but we will discuss that. Okay, so now Avnish Mishra says, some sources claim that Pakistan was preparing for a nuclear strike, and which is why the US pressured India into agreeing to a ceasefire. Well, first of all, we have to understand. Yeah, people are speculating. All kinds of speculations are going around right now. Just some time ago, the Indian Armed Forces did a press briefing in which they put out all the non-classified information that they could share with us about the events that have taken place in the last 3 days, the military operations that they have conducted as part of Operation Sindoor. And yeah, so there's speculation as to maybe Pakistan was preparing for a nuclear strike. That's one piece of speculation that's around, and maybe, and so on. See, what's really happened is this, as far as I can understand, all right? You may have seen that in the past few hours, an American aircraft has landed in Pakistan. It's an aircraft which doesn't have any information on it, but if you look at it, look at the record on Flight Radar 24, you'll see that this US government aircraft has landed in Pakistan. And it's a nuclear safety associated aircraft. It typically looks for radiation leaks and all. That's what the folks do. So what seems to have happened is that the last 12 or 24 hours of the fighting looks like we hit certain targets that were associated with Pakistan's nuclear weapons program. I'm not talking about nuclear reactors, by the way. We don't touch nuclear reactors. We have an agreement with Pakistan and we honor that. We will not touch your nuclear reactors. But there are storage sites where Pakistanis will store their nuclear weapons, right? Some of these storage sites will be on the side of inside a hill, in bunkers inside hills. The Kirana hill is one of those, and that was hit very hard after we took out the Sargodha air base. So we took out the Sargodha air base. We cratered the runway so that nothing could take off or land from there, and then we hit that nuclear weapons storage site, the Kirana hills. I'm not sure if the government has officially acknowledged this. Our government has officially acknowledged this or not, but it's there. I mean, you can see the hill, the side of the hill blows up. Multiple angles of the visuals are there, video, and it's been geolocated. So that happened. So looks like we gave them a clear warning that we know where your nukes are and we can wipe them out. And then the Noor Khan airbase, which we took out. Apparently, there could have been something there as well. Maybe there's some radiation leakage there. So the Americans have rushed to Pakistan's rescue to help them mop up uh, the nuclear leaks and all that, the leakage of radiation. So it looks like Pakistan was hit really hard, and it looks like in a span of about 30 to 60 minutes, the Indian Air Force hit 9 crucial Pakistani air bases, disabled them, busted hangars, and destroyed high value equipment and cratered runways. And that's what seems to have put the Pakistanis into an absolute state of panic. And they reached out to the Americans and they begged the Americans to intervene and have this all stop. And the Americans used their good offices to reach out to India and say that maybe we should stop now. Looks like that's what happened. That's what happened. The Pakistanis will claim, obviously, that they were preparing for a nuclear strike. But why should we fall prey to their propaganda? We have completely busted their nuclear blackmail. I mean, Indians, my Indian viewers, do you not see that? Is it so easy to sway you? Is it so easy to mislead you? We have destroyed Pakistan's nuclear propaganda and blackmail. They used to say if you intrude 1 centimeter, 1 inch into Pakistani territory, we will nuke you. Right? They used to say that. That was the nuclear blackmail. What happened the past 3 days? What happened? We hit them with impunity. We hit them at will. It's all over media. All the proof that you want is available. All their high value military sites have been hit. Right? We started by hitting their terror camps and terror headquarters. And then once they retaliated, we hit their new military sites very badly. And on the last day of the fighting, the Indian Air Force went into the Pakistani airspace and did something completely humiliated the Pakistan Air Force. Completely. Totally. So Pakistan was begging for mercy. We hit them over and over and over again. We made a mockery of their air defense. We neutralized their so-called air defense. We made a mockery of their Chinese weapons. We made a mockery of their Turkish drones. Where were the nuclear weapons? They tried launching all kinds of missiles and drones at us. We neutralized everything. They tried launching a missile, possibly a ballistic missile at New Delhi. We neutralized that. And we still think that they have this nuclear blackmail. Pakistan has been reduced to a joke. The Western media also is taking Pakistan's side. If you look at the nationalinterest.org, a very well-reputed American think tank, they are blatantly peddling Pakistani propaganda. But they should show some evidence to back up what they're claiming. We have put out all the evidence you need to back up what we have claimed. The Indian army, the Indian military has done that just now, about an hour ago. All the evidence you need has been put out in the public domain. Before and after pictures of all the Pakistani air bases and everything else. Where's the evidence of what they are claiming? Show us, right? So let us not fall prey to this absolute stupid propaganda. What's the evidence? Maybe the government of India had a set of objectives in mind when the Operation Sindoor began. That this is a set of objectives that we want to tick mark. And once that is done, we are okay with stepping back. And maybe these objectives did not involve taking territory. Maybe we wanted too much, we as the people. I had tweeted this, right? That India will inflict a comprehensive military defeat on Pakistan and the borders will change. That's what I had tweeted. So we have inflicted a comprehensive military defeat on Pakistan, but the borders have not changed. So maybe the government of India had not set that as a target. Maybe I was too greedy. Maybe we Indians were too greedy. But maybe the government understands things better than us. So we need to Understand that we have secured a gigantic victory, huge victory, historic victory. We have humiliated the Pakistanis. We have demoralized their armed forces. We have demoralized their air force. We have turned them into a joke. They will never forget this as long as they are alive. Understand that, please. All right. Uh, right. What else do we have? Okay, Sanidhya Kumar says, why does the Japanese media support Pakistan and China's claim of shooting down 5 Indian jets? Is Japan pro-Pakistan and anti-India? Listen, please understand this. Look, if you go to American publications like the National Interest, if you look at what CNN has been saying, they have all been supporting the Pakistani claims without putting out any evidence to corroborate what they're claiming, right? I'm talking about the Americans, nationalinterest.org, CNN.com, and whoever else. New York Times, possibly. The BBC must be doing the same thing. Now, the question is, why is Japan doing this? Well, my friends, in case you have been, in case you're familiar with my analysis of how the world works, you will know that Japan, and I have given you evidence of this. It's not just my analysis and my imagination. I have given evidence of the fact that Japan is a is a US vassal. Japan is under permanent US military occupation. The Americans have more than 130 permanent military bases on Japanese territory. When a foreign power is occupying you, you're going to do what they say. They rule you. You may have a so-called parliament and a so-called government and a so-called prime minister. It counts for nothing. The Americans are ruling Japan. The Americans decide what happens in Japan. The Americans decide Japan's foreign policy. They decide Japan's economic policy. They decide Japan's military policy. And when it comes to writing about what happens in a war between India and Pakistan, that comes under the domain of foreign policy and media. And the Americans control that completely. Understand that. Japan is kind of a sister civilization to us, but they are under foreign occupation. They are in the same situation that we were in for 250 years while the British ruled us, while we were under British occupation. When we were under British occupation, we served the British national interest and the British geopolitical interest. We did not serve our national interest or geopolitical interest. We were a subsidiary of the British. Right now, Japan is a subsidiary of the US. The people of Japan are not anti-India. It's the government of Japan and the media that are puppets of the US. Okay. Meenakshi says that there is some news about an American globemaster landing on Pakistani soil. What is America doing on all this? Yes, American aircraft, at least one landed in Pakistan, and it's part of some kind of nuclear mop-up program. Apparently, we have damaged some Pakistani nuclear weapons, and there seems to be some radiation leakage. We have very badly damaged a whole bunch of Pakistani air bases and military installations. We have made a huge hole in the side of a hill. It looks like the Pakistanis will claim, "Oh, you hit a hill." In 2019, during Balakot, they were saying, "You destroyed some trees," right? That hill, there are bunkers in that hill in which the Pakistanis store some nuclear weapons, and we hit that very hard with the brahmos. And in case you don't know what the brahmos is like, I don't think anybody has seen a brahmos hit, right? What happens when a brahmos hits something? Well, I had put it out once, so let me see if I can bring it. I can show it over here. Please give me a second. I'll play my own video. I think I can do that. So here is my thing, and let us search for brahmos. And okay, I'm gonna mute it because I don't want to play this. I mean, I don't want the sound to fit into two. Okay, now let's watch this. All right, let's enlarge this and just see what happens when a brahmos hits something. Just watch it. Here we go. It's a target. Look at that. Look at that. It's a ship. Let me play that again. That's a ship, which is a target. And look at what happens when a brahmos hits that. It cuts the ship in half. The momentum that a brahmos carries is shocking. It travels at 2.8 times the speed of sound, and look at what it does. Look at the momentum that it imparts during the impact. Incredible. So that's what happens when a brahmos hits a ship. It just cuts the ship in half, slices it in half. Now imagine if it hits a hill, how deep the impact is going to be, right? So I think whatever was inside, whatever the Pakistanis were hiding inside, must have been obliterated. If there are nuclear weapons inside, there will be radiation leakage. There will be leakage of nuclear materials, and the Pakistanis have no idea how to fix that. So the Americans have come to the Pakistanis' rescue, and it's possible that the other air bases that we hit and obliterated to some extent, it's possible there will be radiation leakage there as well, because maybe they must have been storing some nuclear weapons there. So the Americans are rescuing the Pakistanis. They're helping them mop up the thing. They don't want radiation leakage. Maybe there is some American technology involved, in which case I have many questions for the Americans. Right? Why are you helping a terrorist nation? So yeah, the Americans have come to Pakistan's rescue. Anonymous scientist says, have we attacked Pakistan's nuclear warheads or storage? Why has the US Department of Energy's plane arrived in Pakistan? There are many reports that we have attacked nuclear storage, and that's why there's radiation leak. That's what I said. Indeed. We haven't said anything officially. We simply have said that we have target. We have struck at Pakistani military targets, completely legitimate targets. Now, their nuclear weapons are part of their military targets, aren't they? Right? But we haven't said that we went after Pakistani nuclear weapons or any such thing, or storage sites. But it's very possible that we may have done that. Maybe we just thought we are hitting Pakistani airports, military airports, Air Force bases. But maybe there was something there. And maybe the Americans have been involved in this because the Pakistanis don't know how to fix the problem. So looks like that's the case. Apurva Chaturvedi says, kindly do tell us what the Americans have offered India in return for the ceasefire, as no sane country, army, or entity would give up such an advantageous position. Well, I would be in a position to tell you what the Americans have offered us in case I was there when the discussions happened. And I wasn't there, and I am not aware of what was offered to India. But let's understand something. We were in the advantageous position. The Pakistanis were begging for mercy. They had gone begging to the Americans to help to make the Indians stop what the Indians were doing to them. Right? No matter what they say officially, Shahbaz Sharif went on TV yesterday and said that we won, etc. Right? All that is fine, bravado. Pakistan always does that. But what actually happened is that they went to the Americans and begged for mercy. Please stop the Indians. So then, when the Americans came to us to ask us to stop, we were in the advantageous position, and we must have negotiated and got some kind of favorable terms, I suppose. Now, what those terms are, it's not for public consumption. That's just the way it works. You don't disclose that to the public. You use it for your national interest. So I'm sure Mr. Modi knows. And one thing I can tell you is that now the Americans have accepted our changed Pakistan doctrine. Thus far, our doctrine was that if Pakistan sends terrorists into India, we're going to kill them in India before hopefully they cause any damage. So if terrorists cross the border, the BSF and whoever else, the Indian army, are going to shoot at the border and hopefully ensure that they don't cross over. If they cross over, we're going to hunt them down, and that sort of thing. Now the new doctrine is that any terrorist attack in India is going to be taken as a declaration of war, as an act of war, which means that we will not respond proportionately by just killing the terrorists. We're going to launch strikes at terror camps inside Pakistan. We're going to launch strikes at possibly military camps inside Pakistan. Maybe we'll take out more Air Force bases. We know now that their air defenses are a joke. Right? And we must have ensured that the Americans will not sell them new air defense systems. If that happens, then that itself would be considered to be an act of, almost like war against us by the Americans. So the doctrine now is that things have changed completely between India and Pakistan. Any act of terrorism is going to be an act of war against India. It will invite disproportionate retaliation We're gonna hit them hard. We're gonna make them beg again. We all saw what the Indian military is capable of in the past 72 hours. We all saw that. We inflicted incredible pain and utter humiliation on Pakistan. Their people, the people of Pakistan now know that Pakistan stands no chance against India, right? So we were in a very advantageous position. Yes, I'm not sure what the Americans would have offered us. I know that the Americans have accepted our new doctrine that in the future, if anything happens, all bets are off. We're going to crush Pakistan. We're going to crush Pakistan. We're going to make them beg again. Now, geopolitical Dubey says it's a dilemma for me. Should I consider the ceasefire as a lost opportunity and move, or should I still trust the leadership, especially Prime Minister Modi? We have to trust Prime Minister Modi. Is it a lost opportunity? Look, I was saying yesterday it's a lost opportunity. I've had some time to think and consider. There is the nuclear angle, right? If we had pressed way too hard, what if they tried a nuclear strike? Listen, it's very nice to talk theoretically. Hmm? It's very nice. Listen, all Indians, listen to me here. It's very nice to talk theoretically that we should have done this, we should have done that. Imagine if they launch a nuclear strike. Now, we would have taken it out most likely. 99 times out of 100, our air defense system works brilliantly. But let us say that by some chance, they succeed in doing a nuclear strike on some Indian city. Then what will be your reaction? Then your reaction will be 180-degree U-turn, right? That how did we let this happen when Mr. Modi has failed? That's what everybody will do. My question is, can Mr. Modi, as the Prime Minister, as the leader of the country, can he afford to take that chance? Think about that very clearly, my friends. It's very easy to talk like this. The moment something happens, people start crying in India. In 2019, when we did the Balakot thing, we lost one aircraft, right? And Wing Commander Abhinandan was captured. What was the mood of the country? The Indians don't know how to take a loss, how to absorb a little bit of loss. Imagine if a nuclear strike happens. We will obviously wipe them out. That's fine in retaliation. But we may end up losing a city and a whole lot of people. How will the reaction be? Can any Indian government afford that? Think about that, right? It's very easy to say lost opportunity. Even I was saying yesterday, right? That it's the greatest opportunity we're going to have to take back POK and so on. And I was saying 50% chance that by today morning we'll have some part of POK and so on. But maybe the armed forces know better than us. Maybe the government knows better than us. Maybe they know what the actual red lines are and so on. Right. So let us be a little calm. It's been a big victory. The Pakistanis, I don't think, of course, they will not change. The Pakistanis won't change. Their DNA doesn't change. Their culture doesn't change. But now we can deal with them in a very different way. And their nuclear blackmail is over. Those days are gone. End of story. Okay. Atharva says, why does India always lose the war of narrative? Pakistan thinks that they won. The world media thinks that India lost. Our self-confidence and of our civilization again shattered. We lost again, sir. No, we have not lost. Come on. What we lost? What are you talking about? We lost. Just because everybody is blah 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 doesn't mean we lost. Why are we so diffident? Why do we lack confidence as a civilization? Why? Why are our people like this? We lost again, sir. I just don't get it. Why is your self-confidence shattered because somebody is saying something? Why do you care what others say? I just don't get this thing that Indians have. Absolute lack of self-confidence. Why does your self-worth depend on what others say about you? I just don't get this. This is the Indian inferiority complex. I need external validation. I need a white man to say that I am great. Then I feel good about myself. Otherwise, I lost. This is so disappointing about Indians. Really, please, we need to change this. You have to think differently. Why do you need a white man to tell you that you are good and you are great and you won? Why do you need that? I don't get it, really. Mitesh says, Okay, fine. Okay. uh, and earthquakes happened apparently in Pakistan around Richter of about 4 or 3 or whatever on the Richter scale in the past 4 days. Are they really earthquakes? Look, there are seismically active regions in Western India where earthquakes happen pretty regularly. Okay, for example, the Kutch region is right next to Sindh, Pakistan, etc. You have earthquakes. The Balochistan region is earthquake prone. The Balochistan Iran region, that's earthquake prone. Northern Iran is also earthquake prone. It's part of the extended Himalayan zone. You have earthquakes. So let's not get into all kinds of speculations that maybe the Pakistanis did a nuclear test to remind the Americans that we are capable of this. Do your nuclear test if you want to. How do we care? So I know what you're asking. You're asking whether the Pakistanis did a nuclear test or a couple of nuclear tests to remind India and to remind the US that they have uh, this weapon at their disposal. That's all speculation. That region is earthquake prone. You have earthquakes, and especially small ones happen quite regularly. So let's not read too much into that. All right. I know that there's a lot of speculation on social media right now. There are people putting out screenshots of tweets from I don't know which agency, right? That earthquake Richter of magnitude 4 on the Richter scale happened like about 3 or 4 earthquakes between April 22nd and around today's date. 3 or 4 earthquakes. That's normal. That's normal. So don't read too much into it. McLevin says, do you think the US intervened because we might have taken down F-16s using S-400s? This would be humiliating for the US as F-16 is used by Ukraine. Maybe we are working with Russia. Look, we have taken down multiple fighter planes, including F-16s. Now, I have the evidence, but since the government is not saying anything about how many aircraft fell on our side, Pakistani aircraft, so I will not put any evidence out in the public domain. I know that at least minimum 2 Pakistani fighter planes, probably 3, have come down on our side of the border, and we have done a very good job at scrubbing that from social media. So yeah, let's keep it that way. Now, when it comes to Pakistani Air Force losses on the Pakistan side of the border or line of control, there are more. On the last day of fighting, the Indian Air Force went into Pakistani airspace, and did a lot of damage there. After completely making a joke and mockery of the Pakistani air defenses, which happened the first 2 3 days, 2 days. Last day, the Indian Air Force put a final stamp of humiliation on Pakistan. And multiple Pakistani fighter planes went down in Pakistani territory or Pakistani controlled territory, including F-16s, I promise you. These were kills by Indian fighter planes. I'm sure that there were fighter planes that went down over Indian airspace because of S-400 kills also, right? But we want to not put the Americans in a tight spot and make them feel humiliated. That's why we're keeping quiet about this. Okay, we value the relationship we have with the Americans. We want to take it forward in a positive, constructive direction. We also need them. They also need us. So we are not going to, you know, we're not going to highlight this and tell the world, see, this is what we did to your precious F-16s. We're not going to do that. This is privately a humiliation for the Americans. In private diplomacy, yeah, this would be rubbed into their face. This is what we did to your F-16s. There you have it. Uh, so the Americans did not intervene because of the F-16s going down. Those are ancient aircraft. They intervened because probably the Pakistanis begged them. The Americans still have some use for Pakistan. They don't want Pakistan to disintegrate, and they probably are worried about the Pakistanis using nuclear weapons. Multiple things come together, converge together, and that's why the Americans intervened and had this stop. And probably our government must have decided that these are the things we want to achieve, and once we achieve them, we would have said yes to the Americans. Okay, we got what we wanted. We did exactly what we came here to do. Now you guys can go ahead and announce your thing that there's a ceasefire. You take the credit, Donald Trump. So it's always good to make Donald Trump feel good. He's a very vain man, very big ego. So make him feel good. Helps us. Helps us. Please look at it in a broader context. Okay. Nandish says, after this ceasefire, what do you think the future holds for India? Good question. Good question. What happens now? You can call it a ceasefire. The government of India is not using the term ceasefire. The government calls it a cessation of military activity, or whatever term Dr. Jaishankar used yesterday. So we are not calling it a ceasefire. It's yeah. So now what happens? So now, first of all, we are going to have a very different approach towards Pakistan. The next time Pakistan does something, they're going to feel this kind of pain. We're not going to just shoot at their terrorists who are trying to cross the border. We're not just going to, fire back at those cross-border posts that the Pakistanis have. Next time a terrorist attack happens, we're going to retaliate militarily like this, maybe airstrikes, maybe missile strikes at their precious military installations, air force bases, and so on. They're going to have more of this. Now, obviously, the Pakistanis, now that the fighting is over, they're going to rebuild. They're going to repair those runways which have been cratered. They're going to repair that. They will probably repair the hangars. Whatever aircraft have been destroyed, they're going to have to replace them if they can. If they can't, then whatever, that's their problem. But they're going to try and then they're going to try and reconstruct those terror bases, or maybe move them further away. But that would be bad for them, because then they cannot. It's not easy for them to logistically move more terrorists into India. But that sort of thing. But I think within 6 months they're going to go back to normal. The Pakistanis. Within 6 months, I think they're going to go back to normal, and they're going to start their nonsense all over again. So Pakistan is not going to change. But the next time they do something, the next time there is any kind of terror attack, we're going to hit them very hard once again, and they're going to be prepared for it this time. But even if they are prepared for it, do they have the ability to stop us? That's the question. Because after the Pahalgam terror attack happened, the Pakistanis knew that India is going to do something, and they were preparing very hard. So what happened to their preparation? Despite being prepared, despite India giving them 2 weeks of preparation time, they failed miserably. Now they may have 6 months of preparation time, but doesn't matter. What are they going to do? Buy more Chinese systems, air defense systems? Buy more Turkish drones? Right? What does the future hold for India? We cannot go back to business as usual. We have put Pakistan in its place. We have to go back to work on our economy. We have to become a manufacturing power, a major manufacturing power. The next thing that also needs to happen is India needs to have a mass deportation program. India needs to very quickly have a mass deportation program, deport all the illegal infiltrators who are residing within India, who are embedded in every nook and corner of India. There must be between 50 and 100 million Bangladeshis, illegal infiltrators, illegal living in India. Tens of thousands of Pakistanis were evicted after the Pahalgam attack, who had been living in India illegally. Some of them had been living in India for decades. Some of them had served as policemen. It's incredible. Some of them said that they had voted in India. This is the kind of joke of a country we have become. So we need to start a mass deportation program. Get rid of all the illegal Pakistanis. Get rid of the 100 million Bangladeshi infiltrators, illegal Bangladeshi infiltrators. Get rid of all the cookies who are squatting on Indian territory in the far east of India. Get rid of all the Rohingyas who have come from Burma and gone across the whole of the country. Get rid of these people. That's what needs to happen. So I think that could be coming up. Hopefully, I really hope so. And then once 100 million illegals are gone, the economy can breathe easy, right? And the GDP per capita goes up. A whole lot of things change, and we have to become a manufacturing power. We have to really, really work on the economy. We have to spend more on military, on our military budget, on our defense budget, because the real enemy is not Pakistan. The real enemy is China. Please remember that. And China is way more powerful than India. We have to achieve parity at least with China, and then we'll think about superiority. And it is not something that's a matter of fantasy to achieve parity with China. We can do it, but we have to work hard for it. So all of that needs to happen. India needs to become a major power in technologically. Technologically, we have to become a major power, right? We have to become a semiconductor power, chip manufacturing power. We have to uh, start, making our presence felt in the domain of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, the space race. All of that we have to do that. All these things. We need to have a national mission that we all can participate in. Do we even know what our mission is as a country? We don't have that sense that we have a mission, and we are all participating in that. So we need to develop that sense of mission, all of us, that we are all in our own way participating and doing our own, contributing our own, whatever it is, giving our own contribution in the direction of where we are trying to go for the mission. So all of that needs to happen. I think the future is bright for India. I think the future is really bright. We have put Pakistan in its place. We know how to deal with Pakistan. The real threat is China. Now, China will also be worried. Please remember that. We have sent a message to many parts of the world, including our Chinese friends. We've done that. Uh, so, yes, I think the future is bright, but we're going to have to work really hard. Now, Dr. Surya Prakash Upadhyay, my good friend from IIT Mandi, he's saying that he's watching my show right now, and he wants me to speak about the Chinese involvement in this ceasefire. Is there, so Dr. Surya Prakash, good to hear from you. Uh, what is the Chinese involvement in this ceasefire? Is there possibly a Chinese involvement? It's a good question, interesting question. And what's the Chinese involvement overall in this entire matter? So, when it comes to Pakistan, China has an involvement. See, when the Pahalgam attack happened, hmm, there was a joint military exercise happening between the Chinese and the Pakistanis in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. The Chinese, for quite some time, have had a military presence in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. They're not occupying the region militarily, but they have a presence there. And it's justified by saying that, we are safeguarding the infrastructure that we have invested in, or when we've constructed as part of the China Pakistan Economic Corridor, which is a branch of the Belt and Road Initiative of the Chinese, right? So the Chinese have had a military and security presence in POK and also in Baluchistan. So when the Pahalgam attack was happening, the Chinese were conducting a joint exercise with the Pakistanis in POK. And since their military was present in the region, I suppose it may still be present to some extent in the region, then they must have observed India's preparations the past 2 weeks for what eventually happened, right? And it's also possible that while the fighting was happening the past 3 days, the Chinese must have been observing it from Pakistani territory, right? So they must have collected intelligence, which is okay. When you have a battle going on, people can collect intelligence, sure, electronic signatures and whatnot. You can do that. They would have also collected real-time information and intelligence about how their systems performed against Indian weapons. So the complete, utter, miserable, humiliating failure of the Chinese air defense systems, the Chinese radars, wiped out, right? Complete joke. So that would have been noted and observed. So that is one aspect of the Chinese involvement, the historic involvement, which is them having a presence in POK, having a presence in Balochistan. That's there. We know that they occupy the Shaksgam Valley, which is part of our JNK. So that is there. And then the question is where the Chinese involved in some way in the whatever came in the run up to the ceasefire or in the ceasefire itself. So we know that the ceasefire was not announced by us, by Prime Minister Modi, by the Indian Minister of External Affairs. It was not announced by the Pakistanis either. It was announced by the US President Donald Trump. Right? So it doesn't look like the Chinese were involved in negotiating with India of on behalf of the Pakistanis and coming to the ceasefire agreement. We know that yesterday, at some point in time, there was some communication between us and the Chinese, probably between Mr. Ajit Doval, our Mr. Ajit Doval, and the Chinese Foreign Minister, Mr. Wang Yi, right? His name is Wang Yi. I forget his name. Let me just quickly. Chinese foreign minister. Chinese foreign minister is Wang Yi, yes. So Mr. Ajit Doval, the national security advisor, spoke with Mr. Wang Yi, and Mr. Wang Yi said that we need to have peace, blah blah blah. All that is fine, but the Chinese don't have any sort of goodwill in India, right? The kind of goodwill and so on that the Americans have with us. So I don't think that the Chinese were involved in the ceasefire thing. It was the Americans who the Pakistanis had to bring into the matter in order to achieve the ceasefire. So I think that is what really happened. Uh, Nit says ceasefire violated today also. I see. I see. Gojo says ceasefire violation again right now on the LOC and the international border. Right. So the Pakistanis will do that. So I think we will respond proportionately at this point in time because we don't want to make Trump look bad. The Pakistanis probably want us to make Trump look bad and they'll put the blame on India. So right now, if they're firing at us, we'll fire back and maybe, you know, dispatch a few of them, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's interesting that the Pakistanis are doing that. Rahul says, are we following moral values in war, like not crossing LOC, like our Hindu ancestors did in the past, and not hitting enemy when it's weak? I think we crossed the we crossed the LOC by air. We sent missiles deep inside Pakistan, not just Pakistan occupied Kashmir, inside Pakistan itself. We hit all over Pakistan. Um, we sent missiles, we sent drones, we killed at least 100 terrorists. Some Pakistani Air Force fellow was also killed, apparently. Rest in peace, bro, and so on. So, the moral values, I'll tell you what is the moral value of war. The moral value in war in the 21st century is you got to win. You got to achieve your objectives. The objectives that you had in mind when you started the war, you got to achieve that. That's the moral value of war. That's the moral values you're supposed to follow in war. Um, because those values are those objectives that you had when you started the war, they are in line with your national interest. And the highest morality for the king or the ruler is that is to ensure the long-term security and prosperity of the people and the nation, right? So as long as you go to war for those reasons, you are morally right. And then once the battle starts, once the fighting starts, the moral value is that you've got to win. So you got to win whichever way. All is fair in love and war, like they say, right? Hmm? So crossing the LOC, we crossed the LOC. We lobbed everything we wanted. Our fighter planes yesterday made a complete mockery of Pakistan. They created runways like Sargodha, etc., on the air bases, and then they flew over the runway afterwards in mockery of the Pakistanis. Now, this will not come out in the public domain, but yeah, sources tell us. So we have done that. And right now, the enemy is weak, the enemy is demoralized, but the enemy has a weapon we don't want them to use. And we also have to please the larger power, which is the United States. So, for these reasons, we have accepted the cessation of hostilities, but we have accepted that under new terms. The next time they do anything, we're going to hit them just as hard or maybe twice as hard. Right? Okay, Sahil Patil says, did we just miss to hit the free hit delivery served by Pakistan by violating the ceasefire? I think that's going to be up to the government how to respond to the violation of the ceasefire. Do we just go back to the old days that they fire at us and we fire back at them, and every morning we wake up the Pakistanis by firing at them, or maybe they wake us up by firing at us, that sort of thing. Um, or maybe we hit them harder. One thing I would suggest to the government, hmm, as a civilian, as an outsider, as an Indian, as someone who has some understanding of things, one thing I would suggest, just a suggestion to the government of India, if someone is watching, in case, suggestion is, if the Pakistanis violate ceasefire and so on, start salami slicing. Start salami slicing the territory. Slice, 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 slice. Little, 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 little. Start salami slicing. If a certain border checkpost is firing at us, you launch a couple of nags at it. That's an anti-tank missile. You destroy that. Then you move in and you hold it. I know it's very simple to say. It's easier said than done, but make it happen. Start salami slicing. That should be our next move. Keep the border hot. Put them off guard. Keep them off guard. Put them on the defensive now. It's always them who start all these things, right? It's always them that violate the ceasefire. Let us violate the ceasefire now. Let us be the ones to initiate all this now. And let's start salami slicing the POK region, slice by slice, slice by slice, slice. Whatever it costs. Keeps your army fit. Come on. I think that's what we need to do. So just a recommendation, just a suggestion, you know, let the professionals decide. But why do we have to always be the righteous ones? Let's fight dirty. Any righteous cause is worth fighting for, that is worth fighting for, is worth fighting dirty for. If you are fighting a just fight, if you're fighting for the right thing, and if it is something that is worth fighting for, then it is worth fighting dirty for. It's fine to break the rules. Please learn from the Mahabharata. Learn from Lord Krishna. He also broke the rules when it was needed because the victory was more important. So that's what we need to do. Maybe. Priyaranjan says, how will India deal with Bangladesh after Pakistan? Well, Bangladesh is a whole different cup of tea. Now, it's not as powerful as Pakistan, first of all, militarily. It's nothing compared to Pakistan. Pakistan is way more powerful militarily than Bangladesh, hard power wise. I'm not even talking about the nuclear dimension. Even if we take out the nuclear factor from the Pakistani military considerations, even then, just if you just consider the conventional strength of the armed forces of Pakistan and Bangladesh, Pakistan is way stronger than Bangladesh. So militarily, Bangladesh is not an issue at all. Okay, if they ever try something, it's gonna be it's gonna be just way too funny. But the issue is when it comes to Bangladesh is different. Bangladesh seeks different masters. It's funny and it's strange that the Bangladesh regime was brought to power by the American Biden regime, right? The coup happened under the Biden regime's guidance. It was a classic color revolution kind of pattern that was followed, and a pro-US puppet government was brought to power. Now, how is the approach of the Trump regime going to be towards the Mohammed Yunus regime? Now, Mohammed Yunus is hedging his bets. He's going to China, and he's clearly fishing for a master in China. But on the other hand, one also hears that the Americans are possibly constructing a military base somewhere in Bangladesh. And I'm not talking about that island that we had discussed in the past, but I think on the Bangladeshi mainland, the Americans may be constructing a military base. If that happens, then it's kind of an unfriendly act towards India. But we don't have our version of a Monroe Doctrine that nobody is allowed in our extended region. So I think we just take it right now. So Bangladesh is going to be a whole different issue. And the other issue with Bangladesh is the illegal immigration issue. Way too many Bangladeshi illegal immigrants in India, maybe 100 million now. And we have to evict them, no matter what the cost. And we have to make the Bangladeshi government absorb those 100 million, whatever the cost, I don't care. And possibly the Americans may come in the way in that also. Right? So yeah, it's going to be difficult for us to deal with that issue, the illegal immigration issue, because 100 million people, to evict them, it's not that easy. It's a logistical nightmare, a huge challenge. It's certainly feasible. But yeah, so what we have to do with Bangladesh is this. We have to be very cognizant of the fact that Bangladesh is not a friendly nation anymore. It used to be very friendly towards India during the rule of Sheikh Hasina, but she has been evicted in a coup. Now, the Bangladesh is kind of a problem, and we have to be careful about their activities. Let's take a look at the map, and we'll discuss based on what we see on the map. So where's the map? Here's the map. I haven't opened the map yet today. Well, here we have it. So let's look at the geography of Bangladesh, right? It's formerly East Bengal. So look, tremendous amount of illegal infiltration happens westwards from Bangladesh mainly. That's what one hears, allegedly. The Siliguri corridor is an issue. right? And then there are the so-called northeastern states, the far eastern states of India, Assam, uh, and all the other states, uh, Tripura, etc., Mizoram. These are the states of India that we have common boundary with Bangladesh in these states. And historically, Bangladesh has harbored, before the time of Sheikh Hasina, Bangladesh historically has had a track record of harboring anti-India separatists and terrorists on Bangladeshi territory, who would then sometimes, from time to time, wreak mayhem in our Far East. So that sort of activity could start again. So we have to be very cognizant of that. Now we can't just unilaterally go and take territory and all that. It's very easy to say that, but it's not that easy to justify that without just causes. So yeah, it's going to be a headache that we have to deal with. So the first thing is we have to be very cognizant of the threat that potentially comes from Bangladesh, and then we need to have ways of clear multi-step, multi-stage plans, multifaceted, multi-dimensional plans of how to neutralize those threats. And the first thing is, please evict all the illegal Rohingyas, Bangladeshis, Cookies, Pakistanis, whoever else is squatting on our territory. Very, very important to do that. Very important. Okay. Okay. Hari Charan is asking this for 3 days straight. I'm sorry I didn't see it earlier. Well, here we have it. What implications does Trump's tweet of increasing trade with Pakistan have on India? Oh, well, I haven't seen the tweet. Should I go and search for it now? Maybe not, because he tweets a lot. Um, so let's say Trump wants to increase trade with Pakistan. What does he want to do? Um, does he want to buy Pakistani products, or does he want to sell something to Pakistan? In case he wants to buy Pakistani, see, trade is two ways. You either buy or sell, right? There's nothing else. So in case he wants to buy stuff from Pakistan, what does he want to buy? Donkeys? Pakistan exports donkeys to China. I know that. What else does Pakistan export? Okay, let's take this seriously. Actually, instead of making it as a joke, let's take it seriously. Okay, come on. Let's Google this. Pakistan major exports. What are Pakistan's major exports? Textiles, garments, rice, leather goods, surgical instruments. Other notable exports include sports equipment, chemicals, carpets, fruits like quinoas and mangoes. Okay, let's see here. Do we have a nice graphic of some kind? I don't mind some graphics. Yeah, this is a graphical thing. Okay, I don't want your thing. Okay, here we have it. Okay. So Pakistan's exports. This is Pakistan, right? Yeah, Pakistan. Except, unfortunately, here we are. So, what are the products they export, the Pakistanis? House linens, non-knit men's suits, knit sweaters, non-knit women's. So all of this green stuff seems to be textile-oriented stuff. Then they have rice and seeds and whatnot. Then alcohol. What? Must be industrial alcohol, because according to their religion, they're not supposed to drink alcohol, right? Sports equipment, packaged medicaments, polyacetals, that's a chemical thing, medical instruments, refined petroleum, refined copper, leather apparel, bovine meat. Ugh. What else? Spark ignition engines, styrenes, polymers, raw plastic sheeting, tractors, motorcycles, jewelry, and so on. So these are the things they export. Their total exports are $35.9 billion. What are the destinations? UAE, China, Afghanistan, Saudi Arabia, Bangladesh, US, $4.95 billion. So they export roughly $4.95 billion worth of stuff to the US. Let's see their imports. So what do they import? Petroleum, gas, refined petroleum, crude petroleum, semiconductor devices, telephones, all kinds of chemical and other products, raw cotton, dried legumes, wheat, palm oil, cars, medical medical things, scrap iron, hot rolled iron. And the destinations so their imports are $59.5 billion. Their exports are 35. So they've got a deficit of about $20 billion. The destinations are China, Qatar, UAE, Germany, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Kuwait, etc. US is 1.9 billion. So they export about $2 billion worth of stuff from the US. sorry, import about that much, and they export about $4.95 billion worth of stuff. So there's not a lot of scope for trade uh, when it comes to trading with a nation of the caliber of, of Pakistan. It's a small economy. It's an impoverished nation. It's a quasi-failed state. If Trump wants to increase trade with Pakistan, I mean, what's he gonna do? Buy mangoes, buy more mangoes. You got better mangoes that you can buy in Brazil. Brazil has great mangoes. You know, the Indian subcontinent is where the mango originated. But today, Brazil has better mangoes. They have mangoes that are larger, juicier, tastier. And now some people will get offended because I said such a thing. But please go and check it out, right? And so on. So I don't know what's he going to import from Pakistan. What's he going to export to Pakistan? Well, if he wants to do it, then let it be. So be it. Rajor Shigan says, hypothetically, do you think India was ready for a two-front war if this escalated and China joined in? I'm sure we would have been ready for that. We have been discussing this. Our armed forces have been discussing this since the days of um, I forget the name of the chief of defense staff, General Rawat, right? General Bipin Rawat. He was the one who used to speak about this, that we have to be ready for a two-front war, 2.5 front war. He used to say. So I am sure that we have all the war gaming already done, all the contingency planning already done. In case there's a war, if the Chinese want to step in, how do we deal with that threat? How do we deal with those two threats at the same time? What if the Bangladeshis want to join in as well? And what if there's a fifth column in India that wants to join in as well? Everything has to be considered. Everything has to be planned in advance. You don't plan when something starts happening and then you decide, okay, you wonder what to do. It has to be all done in advance. So I'm sure we are ready for it. I'm sure we are. So what happens if we have a war with Pakistan, like what has happened in the past 3 days, and China also joins in? So in that case, we have to very quickly cripple Pakistan, first of all, and then we can deal with China. So how do you cripple Pakistan without crossing the nuclear red lines? So first of all, the nuclear red lines are a joke. We have seen that now, the past 3 days. What you do to cripple Pakistan is you wipe out their air defenses, which we did in just 2 days. We wiped out their air defenses in 2 days. That's the first thing you do. Secondly, you destroy their airfields. We did that also. In 3 days, we essentially defanged and neutered Pakistan, right? And then we have an armed force of Pakistan at the border with Pakistan, or the LOC with Pakistan. Their air force is essentially useless. When they have holes in the runways, they can't take over land, and their air defenses are gone, so we can fly over Pakistan if required. So we can deal with Pakistan very easily that way, right? And we also have a navy which can deal with any other contingencies. So, and then once that happens, in just the first 2-3 days, that Pakistan is completely neutralized as an offensive force, then we can focus on the whatever is happening with the Chinese issue, right? So that's how you do it. MS Kitso says, possibly when Bangladeshi spy was caught near Bangdubi, Siliguri. What are my thoughts? There's no surprise here. There are 100 million Bangladeshi spies in India. My question is, what is the government of India doing? They're all spies. They're all foreigners. They have no allegiance to our country. They have no allegiance to our culture, to our civilization. They are foreigners. They have not come here for the love of India. They've come here for a better life, better living conditions. But they still have a hatred towards India. We don't need these people in India. We have to have a mass deportation program of all the foreigners who are living in India illegally, whether it's Bangladeshis or Pakistanis or Cookies or Rohingyas or whatever else we have. Whoever is living in India illegally has to be expelled. Needs to happen. Needs to happen on a war footing. So yeah, see, this is what happens otherwise. They're all spying on India. They're all doing something or the other that's anti-India. Terrible that we have the situation. Okay. Now, one thing I want to talk about, okay, before I take more questions. Did anybody notice the difference between 2019 and 2025? What happened the past 3 days, how we conducted our business of war, and what happened in 2019 Balakot, and how we conducted our business of war at that time. So in 2019, here's what happened during the Balakot thing, Balakot airstrikes. Um, we sent a bunch of Mirage fighter planes across the border, and we struck a camp in Balakot with spice bombs, very precise bombs that went and made holes in those buildings and killed the terrorists inside. And then we came back. Our fighter planes came back. So we went deep into Pakistani territory, killed a bunch of terrorists in Balakot, and we came back. We did not take any video. We did not film the strikes. We did not have before and after images of the strikes. The government did not even say where the strikes were done. We just said there was a terror training camp with a bunch of terrorists there in Balakot, and we struck it. But we presented no evidence. The next day, the Pakistanis launched airstrikes on India. We counter-struck. We struck back at them. The Pakistanis, you can say to some extent, outmaneuvered India, because we made the mistake of flying one aircraft fighter plane over Pakistani territory or Pakistani occupied territory. It was shot down. We shot down at least one F-16. We were able to give no proof of that. The Pakistanis were able to show that we have downed one Indian fighter plane, MiG-21, and we have captured one pilot. And in 2019, we used MiG-21s during those dogfights, and we lost one. And in 2019, we also shot down one of our own helicopters. Yeah, it happens, and it happens in warfare. But these are the things that happened in 21. We showed no evidence of the strike we had done on the Balakot terror training camp. The Pakistanis then won the propaganda war, saying that these guys, they just hit some trees and killed some crows. And they were able to show that they've brought down Indian MiG-21 and the pilot. And we were able to get the pilot back by threatening complete annihilation of Pakistan. So we got the pilot back, Abhinandan. But that's what happened overall in 2019. We were using MiG-21s. We had short-range rockets on the MiG-21s. We didn't have long-range missiles. We lost a MiG-21 on Pakistani occupied territory. We had a pilot who was captured. We shot down our own helicopter. We showed no proof of the Balakot strike. It was we lost the propaganda war in 2019, right? Compare 2019 with 2025. What happened? Did we use any MiG-21s? I don't know which aircraft we used this time. I don't think there's going to be revealed, but I assure you, no MiG-21s we used. So in 2019, a whole different set of aircraft. In 2025, we outgunned the Pakistanis. When I'm talking about the capabilities of the fighter planes, we have incredibly long-range missiles now on our fighter planes. Meteor missiles, Scout missiles, and whatnot. Completely different beast our Air Force is today. The Pakistanis were outmatched and outgunned. Their F-16s, their JF-17s are no match for what we have today. So that's one big difference. First big difference. Okay? Completely different beast of an Air Force we have today compared to 2019. We still operate MiG-21s, but yeah, what we used was a very different set of aircraft. That's number one. Number two, this time, when we hit those terror targets, we sent loitering drones to film everything very calmly. First strike, we film. Second strike, we film. Third strike, we film. Fourth strike, we film on the same location. And we sent these drones over Pakistani territory, and the drones were not detected and they were not destroyed. And they calmly floated there, hovered there, filmed everything, and sent everything, all the information back to India. And we hit, I don't know how many terror camps we hit. At least 100 terrorists are dead. And we proved it. We showed all the information. The Pakistanis have no way of denying it. Very different from 2019 again. Right? That's another difference. The third difference is our air defenses are shockingly good today. I think the whole world is shocked. They will not say it. but they are shocked at how good our air defenses are now. We can take anything out. At least two or three Pakistani fighter planes have come down on Indian territory, apparently. Hmm? We can take out their drones. They sent hundreds of Turkish drones into India. Everything was taken out. They sent I don't know how many missiles into India. Everything was taken out. They fired a long range missile at Delhi. It was brought down over Sirsa, Haryana. Our air defense system is shockingly good. We have a multi-layered air defense system. Nothing passes through. Nothing. We have I don't know how we did that. We have this ancient gun. I think it's LM70 or LM50 or something. I forget the name. Okay, so it's an ancient gun, a Bofors gun, but we have done something to it. We have put some new technology on an ancient gun, which kind of automatically kills everything. So in the past, you would have a gunner, and they would aim at the target and they'll try and hit it on the basis of their human aim. I think we've put some electronic components or something. I'm speculating. I'm completely speculating here, but we have turned this into a complete killing machine. This gun, it just automatically shoots down all the drones, everything that comes. Nothing passes through. So there is that. And then there are other legacy systems like perhaps the Pichora or whatever. Then there is the Akash surface to air missile. My God, that system is the superstar. I think it is the world's best anti-aircraft, anti-missile system in the world. The Akash system. It can track multiple targets at the same time and annihilates everything. The Akash is probably the best air defense system in the world today, and it has proven its worth in the in the in this war. So we have to give our gratitude to the engineers and scientists who developed the Akash system, right? Then we have the S-400, which is used for certain kinds of targets, and then we also have the Barak system. It's a very short reaction missile, extremely high accuracy missile that kills incoming aircraft, incoming missiles, whatnot. It is good enough to stop a supersonic missile. So Indian warships, they have two kinds of missiles typically. They have the Brahmos, which is an offensive missile, and they have the Barak, which is a defensive missile. So if somebody fires an anti-ship missile at our ships, we take those missiles out using the Barak. It's never happened thus far, but it's there. And the Barak, so our warships have the Brahmos, and we also have the Barak, which can defend against the Brahmos. That's how good it is. Yeah? So the Barak can also be used on land to 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 intercept incoming missiles and all that. It's an extremely good system. So we have a multi-layered air defense system that probably is the best in the world today. Incredible what we have achieved in the since 2019. Right? This time there was no Indian aircraft or helicopter that was shot down. Nothing of that kind happened. So my God, what we have, the change that we are seeing in the past in just 6 years, from 2019 to 2025, it's a complete sea change. I think it has shocked everybody, not just the Pakistanis, also the Chinese and the Turks, the Americans. Absolutely shocking. Who is responsible for this change? Please tell me somebody. Who is responsible for the complete transformation of the Indian military and the Indian Air Force? Who's responsible? I would say Mr. Narendra Modi is responsible, right? He ensured that we got all these systems in place, the Rafales, all the everything else. The Rafales we've not really spoken about thus far. So please understand, a lot of good changes happening. A lot of good changes happening. The military has become an absolute beast. What we need is more funds for the military. We need more Atmanirbharta. We need huge quantities of missiles of all kinds. We need to really double down on the development of the Tejas fighter plane program, the Mark II, eventually Mark III also, the AMCA. You can see what our engineers, our technicians, our scientists are capable of. We need to fund them properly. We need to fund ISRO also properly. That's what we need to do. Anything is possible. This country is capable of miracles. So I don't understand why people are so defeatist that we lost this war, etc. Just because some white guy said that India did not do well. To hell with these guys. Why do you need external validation? See the performance. See the change that has occurred since 2019. Compare the performance in 2019 Balagod with what happened the last 3 days. Do you see that? I mean, please think objectively. Okay. Okay. Debo says, are we trying to find something out of the debris of the F-16? Probably the reason we are hiding the news. Secondly, how will the polar bear look into this event? Look, look, it's embarrassing for the US if we demonstrate what happened and F-16s came down or whatever. So we don't want to embarrass our friends, and of course we want to glean whatever technical etc data information we can glean out of it, since we possibly hypothetically may have the crashed debris of maybe one or more F-16s or maybe one or more JF-17s. It's good to have that. We also have in our possession some Chinese long range missiles and all that, so we're gonna have some good fun now, uh, analyzing all of this. You know, that's good fun for people who like this sort of thing, technical nerds and all that. So let them have fun now. That's what's gonna happen. All right. God says, I still don't understand one thing about us. We're still looking at the military quality from 1800s perspective, as in morale is everything, but technology prevails over morale. My view. Are we really? How did we win the past 3 days? Did we win because our soldiers had great Josh? No, we won because of our complete technical superiority, overwhelming technological superiority over Pakistan. The Pakistanis thought they had everything covered. They had the latest Chinese radars. They had the latest Chinese air defense systems. They had the F-16s and the JF-17s, and they had long range missiles on these F-16s and JF-17s, right? And what they discovered is that the Indian technological prowess is way ahead of them. They thought they can lob 500 Turkish drones at Indian cities and they're going to hit everything and, win the war. Not a single drone reached its target. Our air defense destroyed everything. We won because of technological superiority. I was really worried until the last 3 days as to what is the situation, what is the condition. Are we still looking at warfare from a 20th century perspective? I used to keep saying, right, that we really need to incorporate drones and we need to incorporate the lessons that we should learn from the Armenia, Azerbaijan, the Nagorno Karabakh conflict, the Artsakh conflict of 2020, and the Ukraine conflict from 22 onwards, how things have changed. I think we have learned all those lessons. We have absorbed and incorporated all those lessons, and we have taken it to the next level. We have used loitering munitions, loitering drones, kamikaze drones, Harop drones, and God knows what else we've used. We have used the latest, most innovative technology. So I think maybe the Indian analysts are looking at uh, military, the military dimension from an 1800s perspective or a 20th century perspective, perhaps. Maybe they think that it's all about Josh. How's the Josh? Josh comes from victory. Win, win, win. I think maybe analysts are looking at the military dimension from that perspective. Maybe YouTubers are looking at the military dimension from the Josh perspective. There are certain retired military personnel who look at it from that perspective, perhaps. Yeah, they come on all these TV channels and give their analysis. But I think the Indian military leadership is looking at it from a completely 21st century cutting edge technological perspective. And you can see that in what happened in the past 3 days. There was no element of Josh in this. This was all technology. This was all technology. Do you understand why India won this war with Pakistan? Because of our superior technology and our superior ability to use the superior technology. That's why we won. Please understand, as a nation, as a culture, as a civilization, you have to be at the forefront of technology. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind. And that's clearly we are doing that. Wow. I am super pleased. I am super pleased. I don't know about others. Vishal says incoming drone activity spotted. Please stay inside your houses and observe blackout. DM Barmer. Well, thank you for letting us know, and I hope that's true. I hope that you are giving us the correct information. And if it is true, well, please observe all precautions. And yeah, the government and the military will take care of whatever is incoming. Rakesh says, my question is the Chinese military power is that they show is real or less than showcase, and same question about Indian military. Okay, so the Chinese make a lot of claims about their military prowess, right? How powerful they are. How do we judge it objectively? How powerful the Chinese actually are? One way of judging how powerful and how good a military is by observing their performance in battle, in warfare. The Chinese aren't battle tested. The last time the Chinese military was involved in any kind of war was in 1979 when Deng Xiaoping ordered an invasion of Vietnam, and they were beaten back. They were beaten bloody. They got a bloody nose from the Vietnamese. They lost that war, 1979. And that's the last time the Chinese fought a war. You can call what happened in 1987, I don't think you can call it a war. It was India China skirmishes. I think it was in Arunachal Pradesh or somewhere. And the Chinese lost that too, 1987. Small border skirmishes, small scale fighting. So the Chinese, since then, aren't battle tested. No war experience, no battle experience. And whatever technology that they have, they obviously would have tested it, but it's not battle tested. And the first time the Chinese technology was battle tested was in the last 3 days. The Chinese air defense systems, Chinese radars, and they failed miserably against Indian equipment and the Indian military. So that raises big questions about the quality of China's technology. Big questions. And I am not gloating because the Chinese are our adversaries. No, everybody is now posing the question. Even people who have nothing to do with India or China. Military observers are posing this question now. How good is actually the Chinese military equipment and technology? Their radars have failed. Their air defense systems could not protect Pakistan from whatever India did. So yeah, big questions. If you look at the Chinese Navy, they have the world's numerically largest navy. Nobody can deny that. And I'm sure they have reasonably good missiles, anti-ship missiles and anti-whatever missiles. How good will they perform? Will they be able to hit their targets? I'm sure they will go in the direction of the targets. But what if, can they be intercepted is a question. So the Indian warships, they typically have the Barak missile defense system. So if somebody launches an anti-ship missile at one of our destroyers or ships, we defend our ships with the Barak missile. The Barak missile, I think, was tested in the past 3 days, and it performed admirably. So if the Chinese and the Indian Navy go face to face, and the Indian Navy lobs BrahMos missiles at the Chinese, and the Chinese launches whatever missiles they have, I think the Chinese missiles will be intercepted successfully. But can the Chinese intercept the BrahMos successfully is the question. So there are big questions. Numerically, they have the world's largest navy. But how good is their technology? I'm not sure anymore about that. How good is the quality of their soldier? I'm not sure about that either. Because when they fight with Indians in the Himalayan reaches of Ladakh and whatnot, there's no kung fu that they show there. They're just fighting like guys. Not even like guys, they're fighting like clumsy idiots at times. Not very impressive fighters, So yeah, there are big questions about the quality of China's fighting forces, armed forces, and especially about the quality of Chinese technology. The question about the Indian military. The Indian military is more battle tested than the Chinese. We are constantly at war with the Pakistanis. Look, there is no declaration of war, but we have been at war with Pakistan since 1947. Essentially, the border is always hot. There's always terrorists coming, being infiltrated into India. We're always fighting something or the other. There's always some action happening, right? So the Indian military is always on its toes. The Indian military is always involved in some kind of action. And then we have the standoffs in Ladakh and um, the India-Tibet border and whatnot. There's always something going on. So I think the Indian armed forces are they've seen more action, way more action. And now we have seen actual warfare, right? The Indian technology seems to be seriously good. The Akash system is gonna give nightmares to anybody who wants to attack India now. If the Chinese think that their JF-17s or whatever it is, the aircraft they have, which are in Shigatse and Lhasa in the air bases there, if they think they can easily overwhelm Indian air defenses, they are not going to be worried now about the S-400. They're going to worry more about the Akash system now. The Akash system is seriously dangerous. It's probably the best system in the world now. Of course, the Indian military has it needs more modernized equipment. I think we need to go fully Atmanirbhar because our engineers, our scientists seem to be the best in the world at these things. So we need to have better aircraft, fighter planes, more fighter planes. Maybe as a stopgap measure, buy 100 or 200 Rafales, set up a production line in India, absorb the technology, and use that in future fighter plane development. We need to double down on the AMC, the advanced medium combat aircraft, um, the Tejas Mark II, Mark III, whatever, the Ghatak aircraft, and so on. So all that we need to do, we need to induct these in large numbers. In the next 10 years, it needs to happen. Our navy needs to be bigified, embiggened, enlarged. We need more ships. We need more dangerous ships. We need more submarines. All that needs to happen. But one thing I know, the quality seems to be good of the fighting of the personnel, even the technology we are developing. So overall, it's very encouraging. Whatever we are seeing. Okay. A nationalist says, if we analyze Operation Sindoor in purely military aspects, how do you see it? Is this the fastest air superiority ever gained by any country over such a large border? Air denial to air supremacy? It's a good question. So what happened? The first day we entered Pakistani airspace and we um, took out a bunch of terror camps and terrorist headquarters in various parts of Pakistan, deep inside Pakistan, right? So we must have done the strikes, the strikes from standoff distances. So the missiles and bombs would have been launched from within Indian airspace. Where they launched from fighter planes, if they were launched from fighter planes, what kind of fighter planes, all that I'm not sure has been announced, and we don't need to announce all that. We need to keep it ambiguous, possibly. It's fine. So we did that first day. But the interesting thing is that we sent drones to film everything. So our drones entered Pakistani airspace, deep inside Pakistani airspace, and then calmly filmed all the strikes. So we must have sent the drones in advance because drones are slow moving things and the rockets and missiles move super fast. So we first sent drones who went inside Pakistani airspace, came over the target, and then waited for the strikes to happen. So the Pakistani air defense is a joke. Even before we took out the air defense systems, they could not detect the drones that went in. So that exposes big gaps in Pakistan's capabilities. Maybe they were asleep. In that case, it's a gap in their quality of training or whatever personnel. That happened. Then the Pakistanis tried to strike back India with a whole kinds, I don't know, hundreds of missiles and drones. Everything was intercepted. Then we hit at their air bases and we took out the air defense system in Lahore and we took out a whole bunch of other air defense systems. So I think in about 24 to 48 hours, they had lost essentially all their air defenses. And then we just started hitting their military targets with impunity, hit at will. We started hitting in different ways. We say some of the targets we used kamikaze drones to neutralize those targets. And those were filmed by the Pakistanis. The kamikaze drone coming in, screaming like a banshee, Irish banshee, and slamming into the target and exploding. And then we used other kinds of missiles. Some were brahmos missiles, some were other kinds of missiles. Very, very, very powerful strikes. We hit their Most important air bases. We hit the heart of Rawalpindi. Rawalpindi is the military headquarters of Pakistan. Noor Khan Air Base is the heart of Rawalpindi. It is their crown jewel. We took it out. I mean, in less than 48 hours, we had completely achieved what they call SEAD, suppression of enemy air defenses. And then we just made a mockery of them. On the last day of fighting, early morning, the Indian Air Force went deep into Pakistan, gouged holes into the Pakistani runways, and then flew over the Air Force bases mockingly. It mocked the Pakistanis because their F-16s could no longer take off or land because there are holes, gigantic holes in the runway. Incredible what we have achieved. The Pakistanis will never forget this, but they will go back to their old tricks very soon. So let's see what the next phase is. But please understand, we are, as long as Pakistan exists, we are in a state of war. We are in a state of war. Amara Devendra Dinesh says, any chance for us to reclaim POK? It won't happen right now. Doesn't look like it. Unless something extraordinary happens. Right now, POK is not happening. Okay. Why doesn't India take SU-57 deal of Make in India until AMCA is completed? So we have multiple options. Donald Trump wants us to buy the F-35s. I think it's a very bad idea. The F-35 is a flying Coke can. It's not good at all. Okay, it has some stealth capabilities. It's whatever, but if you buy it, it gives America a tremendous amount of leverage over you. It gives them that kill switch advantage, which they also have with the F-16. They didn't use it. The Americans have kill switches in all their military equipment. They can remotely disable equipment. I have proof of this. I have demonstrated that this is a historical precedent. See, in the 1980s, the Australians purchased FA-18 fighter planes, Super Hornets or whatever it was, from the Americans. Who bought it? The Australians. Australia is a US vassal. Australia is part of the Five Eyes coalition. Australia is a US protectorate, US owned nation. Okay? So the US sold a bunch of F-18s to the Australians. The Australians take the delivery, then they take the aircraft for a spin, and then they say let's test out the aircraft's capabilities. So they'll try to lock on the target acquisition system to various targets, and they find that the target acquisition system of the F-18s refuses to lock on to a bunch of targets. It will lock on to only pre-selected targets that the Americans have selected. So if there is some target the Australians want it to lock into, it would not allow the aircraft to do it. The aircraft was useless. It took them more than 20 years to change the source code, to hack into the source code and make the aircraft do what they wanted. Right? And there's more capabilities like that. So the Americans in the 80s had the ability to cripple aircraft and make them useless. So, and the Americans have been maintaining the F-16s of the Pakistanis, right? So and the Americans claim that they have sold F-16s to Pakistan to be used in anti-terror activities. So in that case, if that is the case, when the Pakistanis try to use F-16s against India, like they did in 2019 Balakot and like they did last 3 days, then why are the F-16s able to lock onto Indian targets? Why? Why aren't the F-16s prevented from locking onto Indian targets? It's because the Americans are lying. They knew full well that the F-16s, they were only intended for being used against India. And that's why they sold them to Pakistan. See, that's how it goes. Now, when you have a nation like that, who has the ability to cripple aircraft and cripple military equipment remotely, then can you afford to buy that aircraft? Essentially, let me give you a very simple, straightforward example you can all understand. Every morning, if you have an F-35, when you start the engine, you will need an OTP. You will need an OTP from the Americans. Only after you enter the OTP can you start the plane. But before you enter the OTP, before you get the OTP, you have to give your full flight plan for the day. And only after they examine the flight plan and they approve it, will you get the OTP. And let's say you try to divert from the flight plan, the plane won't allow you to do that. So then what's the point of having the F-35? Tell me. They will have kill switches, they will have backdoors, they will have all kinds of stuff. And even if you still want to buy it, you have to sign multiple agreements that open up your airspace and your electronic environment to American surveillance and all kinds of stuff. You don't, you essentially lose sovereignty. You lose your sovereignty if you buy the F-35. So I don't think it's a good idea to buy the F-35. Sukhoi 57, I'm not sure what the deal is. I'm sure it's a good aircraft. What are the Russians offering? Are they offering the full transfer of technology? Are they offering us to the ability to manufacture the Sukhoi 57 in India? Will they allow us to set up a manufacturing plant or multiple manufacturing plants in India? If that is a case, then maybe it's a good idea. The Sukhoi 57 seems to be a good aircraft. So if that's the case, then maybe if it is suitable for our requirements, that is for the Air Force to decide. It's for them to decide. If it is found to be suitable, then maybe it makes sense to set up manufacturing plants in India. Not assembly plants, but manufacturing plants. There's a huge difference between manufacturing and assembly. Assembling means they are manufactured somewhere else, but you put it together in India. You get a kit from Russia and you put it all together. You only use screwdrivers and all that to assemble everything. We don't want that. We want full, complete end-to-end manufacturing of everything in India. If that is the case, then we can do it. So let's see. Maybe we can manufacture 100, 200 of these, and as long as the price is reasonable. So let's see. I think the government will have to look into this. Okay, Nuch Atma says a former US official said that Pakistan fears losing control of its nuclear command, something the Noor Khan strike may have signaled that India could achieve. What are my thoughts? We sent clear signals to Pakistan. The Noor Khan Air Base is right next to Pakistan's nuclear command, essentially. So we hit the Noor Khan Air Base with one of the, I don't know what it was, but it was a very, very powerful weapon. The heat signature was captured from space, from a NASA or something satellite, of the fire that engulfed the Noor Khan Air Base. It was a very, very potent and powerful weapon that we used, probably some kind of missile. I'm not going to speculate what it was. And if we can hit Noor Khan, which is at the heart of Rawalpindi, one of the biggest major Air Force bases, then we can hit anything over there. And their nuclear command is right next door, essentially. So we send a signal to the Pakistanis, we can hit anything we want. And your air defenses are gone, so we can do whatever we want. We can just fly around for half an hour if we want and hit whatever we want. And we also took out their Kirana nuclear site. I'm not sure we took out everything. Maybe we didn't want to take out the whole thing, but we sent a very clear signal that we know what's going on over here, that you have something of value hidden here. And if you use a brahmos to hit that, it kind of goes all the way inside. You don't need a bunker buster for that. I'm not sure if a brahmos was used, by the way, but I'm just saying. So Pakistan obviously legitimately feared losing control of its nuclear command and losing its nuclear weapons, or having the nuclear weapons destroyed. See, a nuclear bomb, if you hit it with an airstrike, it won't explode. It'll just be destroyed. So yeah, the Pakistanis would have been in a panic once these strikes happened. India, essentially, in the last 30 minutes of the fighting, the Indian Air Force crossed over into Pakistan and hit 9 air bases. The Noor Khan airstrike, I'm not sure if it was from the Indian Air Force, or whether it was a long-range missile strike. I'm not sure what it was. But yeah, it sent that message. So I think the Pakistanis went into panic once this happened. Crispina Sharma says, is it true Rolls-Royce is offering 100% transfer of technology? I am not sure. If they are offering it, we should take it. Rolls-Royce is one of the premier manufacturers of jet engines. And so which aircraft use Rolls-Royce jet engines? I think lots of commercial aircraft use turbofans made by Rolls-Royce. But I'm sure they also have military-grade jet engines. So is Rolls-Royce offering 100% TOT? Not sure. In case they are, we should seriously consider it. the simplest, the most important thing in transfer of jet engine technology is the single crystal blades. See, the turbine blades, they are at, are something that's at the heart of a jet engine. Turbine blades, and these blades have to be able to withstand incredible temperatures, incredibly high temperatures. I don't know what the exact temperature is. It's probably around 2000, 3000 degrees Celsius, maybe less, maybe more, whatever it is, ballpark kind of. So normal metal will melt at that temperature, whether it's steel, whether it's iron, whatever else, it will simply melt. But you want these turbine blades to be able to withstand these temperatures, and be able to withstand these temperatures for hundreds of hours before you need to do the maintenance. At least 20, 30 hours before you have to rehaul the, overhaul the engine. Ideally, an engine should last at least 100 flight hours. That's great. Some engines last 20, 30 flight hours, which is also fine for starters. So the single crystal technology, which is relevant to turbine blades, that's the most important thing. And these turbine blades also ideally should have active cooling, which means they need to have perforations within them that allow some cooling to happen and so on. So that's a very complicated technology. It takes decades to develop that. If Rolls-Royce is willing to transfer that to India, we should consider that very seriously, for sure. Harsh says, if this goes completely cold now and Pakistan comes back stronger, will India be able to handle Pakistan as easily as we were able to do now in the same situation like this? Look, yeah, the fighting has ended, and we are ensuring that this doesn't get hot again. They have broken the ceasefire, which has again given us the opportunity multiple times to start again. But we clearly have decided that we're going to put a pause to this at this moment. So, it may go completely cold now. Let's say the situation calms down, quietens down, and there is a complete cessation of hostilities for at least 6 months. Well, that is advantageous to Pakistan. So what they will do in the next 6 months, if this is the case, if this scenario comes true, is that they will repair all their runways, they will repair all their air bases, they will try and replace the aircraft they've lost, they will try and get new air defense systems. Maybe not from China this time, maybe from the US, if the US is willing to sell it, maybe from Turkey, maybe from whoever is willing to buy or to sell them this stuff. Or maybe the Chinese again, and they'll tell the Chinese, see, this is what happened, and please make these improvements. So next time, maybe it'll work better, at least. So that's why I've said that this was a great opportunity for India to completely cripple Pakistan and take back POK and all that. But obviously, there are other considerations that we can't see. The government of India has access to information, data, and perspectives that we don't have access to. So it's very easy for us to sit here in air-conditioned rooms, like people say, and criticize and give give advice. Let's respect the fact that the government knows what they're doing. They understand what the national interest is, and they understand the constraints that the nation faces. So what can happen next 6 months is that Pakistan can rebuild everything, rebuild the destroyed aircraft, airports, rebuild the runways, get new equipment, rebuild the terror infrastructure, rebuild the terrorist camps, induct more terrorists. And in 6 months, it goes back to normal. Pakistan is back to where it is. Then what happens? Then, hypothetically, theoretically, they may do more terror attacks in India. So what do we do then? Then we have to treat it like war, and we have to do more strikes in Pakistan. Once again, you destroy the terror camps. So essentially what needs to happen is, anytime the Pakistanis try any terrorist activity on us, we have to destroy more terror camps, and we will strike at their military installations again. And we also have to keep on upping the quality and quantity of our offensive and defensive capabilities. So it won't be easy for any aircraft system to bypass the Akash and the S-400 and other air defense systems that we have. I'm sure it's difficult even for 4.5 generation fighter planes to be able to evade the Akash and S-400 systems. So offensively, it's going to be very hard for Pakistan to do anything. Even 6 months from now, even 1 year, even 2 years from now, if they launch missiles, drones, aircraft at us, we'll still be able to take it out. But defensively, they may get better, perhaps. So, yeah, that is the thing. Um, Geopolitical Dubai says if China is really a $19 trillion economy and has $3 trillion in forex, why don't they give some billions of dollars to Pakistan? It's peanuts for the Chinese if they're actually a $19 trillion economy. The Chinese have their own calculations, I'm sure. They can, of course, bail Pakistan out if they want. If they can also always, they can certainly give Pakistan a monthly stipend if they want, or that sort of thing. It's possible. They can. Why do they do it, or why do they not do it? I'm sure they have calculations. Nothing is done for free. Um, and yeah, so I think that it's part of geopolitical geo-economic calculations as to how you use the money that you have at your disposal, and how much do you give to various vassals and allies and all. So I'm not sure why they would do it, why they would not do it. Should they? Because the Chinese also know that the Pakistanis are actually more comfortable with the Americans, right? And they would actually prefer America to be the big daddy. And the Chinese will obviously know that the Americans can always give Pakistan more money. So let's say China gives Pakistan $1 billion. Let's say one $5 billion a year. Let's say. But what if the Americans come to know about this? Because the Pakistanis will go to the Americans. See, these guys are giving us $5 billion a year. So the Americans will say, "Is that so? We don't want you to be on the China side of China, so we'll give you $10 billion a year, but don't tell the Chinese." So there's always that possibility, right? So that's why you have to be careful with how much money you give to whom. Is that person reliable? And everyone knows the Pakistanis aren't reliable. So there we have it. There we have it. Okay, let's take. Okay, playing ethically says a drone has been spotted in part. Drones have been spotted in parts of Jammu and Kashmir and Rajasthan. Well, looks like we are showing restraint if this is the case. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Anjali says, whenever it happens, there's a possibility of escalation and eventually nuclear war too. So, what would be the difference between now and then? Because the US gave intel and ceasefire was done to avoid a nuclear war, right? So, Pakistan remains a nuclear state, right? We haven't broken that capability of Pakistan. We have degraded Pakistan's air force capability today, as of today. Right now, their air force still can't take off from most of their air bases. If they want to fly their F-16s right now, at this time, what is the time right now? It is right now 9:47 p.m. IST on the 11th of May, 2025. If at this time they want to fly their F-16 somewhere from most air bases, they won't be able to do it because most of the air bases have craters in their runways. So that's a problem. So their air force capabilities have been seriously degraded. Their air defenses are essentially gone right now, right? But we have stepped back because of whatever reason. But we haven't destroyed their nuclear capabilities. It looks like some of their nuclear weapons have been compromised, destroyed, perhaps some, not all. That's why the Americans are there to mop up the radiation leakages and all that. But in the future, there could be escalation. So in 6 months, they will repair everything. They'll go back to normal. They'll buy more systems, air defense systems, and whatever else, and they'll be back to where they were 5 days ago. And they will obviously have the nuclear option, the nuclear warheads that they have. So what is the difference between now and then? It will go back to how it was 5 days ago. And in the future, there could be the possibility of a new escalation, just like what happened recently. And they will again try some nuclear blackmail. Now, their nuclear blackmail has completely been diffused and turned into a hollow joke because of what we did the past 3 days. But they may again issue nuclear threats. So, what we have to do is we have to ensure our air defenses are impenetrable, not just in the border states, uh, Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, these are union territories, but you know what I mean. The border regions, Ladakh, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Haryana, Rajasthan, Gujarat. These are the border regions. So the air defenses are superb in these regions. Then, so that is already in place. Superb air defenses in all these regions. Nothing gets through. Nothing. Drones, missiles, fighter planes, nothing gets through. They tried lobbing a long range missile at Delhi. There also was neutralized over Sirsa in Haryana. So we have that. But what we need to do further is we need to ensure that faraway cities, far from the border, are also very well defended in the same way like the border states. So we want the same kind of air defenses in Nagpur. We want the same kind of air defenses in Delhi, in Patliputra, in Mumbai, in Bangalore. Make sure everything is well secured. That's what we need to do. And if that is the case, if we ensure this is done, then even their nuclear tipped missiles, if they lob them at us, will be neutralized before long before they reach close to the surface of the planet. So that's what we need to do. So, yeah, that's my perspective on this. Mayank Kishore says, do you think there was a nuclear leak at Nur Khan or Sargodha or Kirana, because of which the US pressurized us to agree to a ceasefire? I think the Pakistanis know what buttons to press when it comes to the Americans. They know exactly what the Americans are worried about. The Pakistanis understand the US psyche, I think perhaps better than us, because they've been dealing with the Americans since the 1970s and 80s. So they know what buttons to press and how to make the Americans panic. It's true that we hit Nur Khan Air Base very badly. It's possible there was radiation leakage and fissile material may have leaked out if nuclear weapons were hit, right? Because it's very possible that Nur Khan, you will have nuclear weapons stored there. Very possible. And perhaps we knew exactly where they're stored, and maybe that's why we sent a message. So it's possible there was a nuclear leak at Nur Khan. Maybe Sargodha also. Yeah, very much possible. And Kirana is a nuclear weapon storage site. The storage is done in bunkers deep inside a hill. And we hit that. And it's possible we have weapons that can dig deep into a hillside. And the blast was pretty big, because it has, the videos of that came out, and it has been properly geolocated as being that location, right? I'll show you the location if you want. Let's go to the Google Maps and we will take a look at the location, Kirana. So here is the map. We'll see Kirana Hills, Pakistan. So here we are. Let's take a look at what this location looks like. This is what it looks like. You see, it's a hill, and where exactly is it? Let's first zoom out and locate it properly. So you can see it's approximately, roughly 180 kilometers from the international border. It's not far from Lahore and Amritsar. So it's in Punjab, essentially, it looks like, in case I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's near Sargodha. So you first take out the airbase in Sargodha, and then you make a joke of the Kirana Hills. See, there's an airbase here at Sargodha, a very important airbase. I think this is the one. So you have this Kirana Hills here, okay? And if you see, there is some kind of activity going on here. This looks like a military installation. So this is what was hit, okay, on the side of the hill. And maybe it's a message that we sent to Pakistan, and it's possible there was possibly some kind of radiation leakage in case we hit actual nuclear weapons that were stored there. It's possible. And if that happened, if we actually hit these sites and they lost some nukes as a consequence, that would send the Pakistanis themselves into a panic. And then they are panicking, then they know how to make the Americans panic. So that's kind of what happened, most likely. Right. Let's see some more. Akshit says, ceasefire violated again by Pakistan. Drones spotted in Jammu and Kashmir right now. Explosion heard in Udhampur. Alert and blackouts in Punjab, Rajasthan. How long will this continue? Why is this not an act of war? This is unacceptable. I think we should go back to bombing the Pakistanis. This is enough. Okay, I have a television screen on the other side. I don't know what channel I'm watching. Maybe I should see some other channel, but okay. All right. So if this is the case, then I don't know what to say. Okay. There were many quadcopters in the swarm sent by Pakistan, which are cheaper and sent for spying. How can that impact operational cost if that continues for the long term? How can India handle that? Good question. Uh, Quadcopters are definitely cheaper than other types of uh, of drones, for sure, no question. So these are cheap, and you can use those for doing spying, like you say, gaining intelligence, signals intelligence, visual intelligence, or and other kinds of intelligence. Yeah. So that is definitely cheaper. And if you send large numbers of such drones, you can try to overwhelm the air defenses just numerically. And if you do that, then you end up firing a lot of your weapons at the drones, and that way the Pakistanis will hope that they will deplete your ammunition stores, and maybe they think that your ammunition is more expensive than the drones, which will be an operational cost on you, and it will long term deplete your reserves, and hurt your finances, that sort of thing. Now, when it comes to hitting drones, we don't use the S-400, right? The S-400 is used only for certain targets. We don't use the S-400 for taking out drones. We don't use the S-400 for taking out drones. Then we have the Akash system, the Akash surface to air missile system. Now, we don't use the Akash system to take out drones either. The quadcopters are this much or maybe that much. We don't use the Akash to do that. The Akash is not used to take out, the Akash is used for fighter planes, to kill fighter planes. So, what do we use to kill drones is the question. We don't use the Barak missile to take out drones. Those are the Barak is used to take out missiles, other missiles, and other things. Okay, I'm just saying. So when it comes to drones, we have an old fashioned gun. I think it's called the L70 or something. What is it called? L70, is it? L70. Yeah, let me put that on the screen. So this is the Bofors L70. It's an antiquated 1940s system. We are still using it. And this, I think, is the system we have used to bring down hundreds of drones. Okay. Now, I'm sure that historically the Bofors L70 gun would have been, I don't know, manually targeted. It would have been used to manually target something. But I get the feeling, I may be completely wrong about this. I'm just speculating here. I have no actual information. I have the feeling that we have done some kind of what you call, what the Indians love to call jugaad with this gun. So we have added some layers to the gun, some kind of electronic and automated layers, so the gun can automatically find targets and take out drones automatically without the need for apparently human intervention. Some kind of technological modification of the gun seems to have happened. So it just automatically takes out hundreds of drones if it wants. So let the goddamn Pakistanis send their quadcopters. It's not going to deplete our reserves. It's not going to cause any financial distress to us. Send as many as you want. One L70 shell is cheaper than your quadcopters. So you are actually wasting your money more than we are wasting ours. And one second, where was this? Okay, here. Yash says it is upgraded with new optronics and it's automated. There you have it. So that's what we've done. So this is how you innovate. This is how you innovate. You don't have to throw away your old equipment. Turn it into a different kind of beast. So that's what we have done, and that way Jugaad is good. Geopolitical Dubai says, does Israel control its nukes, or is it the case like the UK? So first, before I answer the question, let's discuss the case of the UK. The UK is a nuclear weapons power. I have nuclear weapons. Yes, that's what the UK says. UK's nuclear deterrent. Let's Google. Okay, it used to be the Polaris missile. I'm not sure which missile it is today, but let's Google this. So UK nuclear deterrent. All right, it is on submarines. Okay, so it was the Polaris system. Now it's a Trident system, I believe. So blah 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 blah, etc. Nuclear defense. So warning systems, attack scenarios, blah blah, etc. etc. History. Renewed American partnership, etc., etc. Weapon system. It's too lengthy and too verbose. I want something more submarine, marine based missile. Okay, tell me now. Tell me now, bro. Okay, the Vanguard class submarines are the UK's nuclear deterrent force. So it's all on nuclear submarines, or on these Vanguard class submarines. And these Vanguard class submarines are armed with powerful Trident 2DS, 2D5 nuclear missiles. So let's Google this Trident missile. Hmm? What is this missile? Who makes this? The UGM blah 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 Trident is built by Lockheed Martin Space in Sunnyvale, California, and deployed to the US and Royal Navy. It's an American missile. This missile is an American missile. So the UK has a bunch of submarines, okay? A bunch of submarines in which they have their nuclear warheads, a nuclear deterrent. The nuclear deterrent takes the form of a nuclear warhead that is mated to that Trident missile. The Trident missile is an American missile. Hmm? Now, do you think the Americans will hand over their missiles and give full control to the UK? What actually is the case is the big red button is not in 10 Downing Street in London. Okay. The big red button is in the White House. Donald Trump has the big red button for the UK. So the UK has a nominal nuclear deterrent, but it's actually a nuclear deterrent that belongs to the UK, to the US. So my point is the UK doesn't control its nukes. It's a complete outright vassal of the United States. That's what the UK is. And that's been the situation for a very long time. Now, what's the case with Israel? Israel is not like the UK. Israel has complete control over its nuclear deterrent. And what shape and form does Israel's nuclear deterrent take? We don't know. At least I don't know. I have not really taken the time to study whether they have missiles. I'm sure they have missiles, but they will also have an Air Force based thing and all that. So I'm not sure what shape and form it takes, but they have complete 100% control, the Israelis, over their nuclear deterrent. They are not like the UK. Israel is the fifth sovereign state. The fifth sovereign state, one of the five. No, it's not four, it's five. I was mistaken. Rachit says drones in Barmer, Rajasthan. Well, we need to do something about this. We need to do something about this. Tina Yadav says, why couldn't we pressurize the IMF as we say that we are the emerging Vishwaguru? I have said this so long, my dear friends. Please, we need to shut up about this Vishwaguru nonsense. We are right now a Vishwa student. Vishwaguru we can be if we have the world's best universities and hundreds of them. And we have the world's best teachers, and we are the intellectual powerhouse of the world. That's when we are Vishwaguru. Right now, we are not Vishwaguru, we are Vishwa student, and not even a good student at that. So enough of this nonsense about Vishwaguru. We are nowhere near being a Vishwaguru, and we are nowhere near being a superpower. We have the potential to be all these things. We are already emerging as a great power. But we are nowhere near a Vishwaguru. Our education system is rotten as hell. That's a polite word to say. Rotten as hell. Our education system is one of the worst education systems in the world. No matter what the government says, new education policy. Okay. So we are not Vishwaguru. Nowhere close to being Vishwaguru. And if you are Vishwaguru, what does it have to do with pressurizing the IMF? Now, what Tina is asking is actually a good question. So let me now put aside this word Vishwaguru, riles me up. That's why I went in that direction. Now let's answer the actual question. Why couldn't we pressurize the IMF? Ask yourself this question. Who actually owns the IMF? Which are the nations that contribute the most to the IMF and control the IMF? It's essentially the G7 nations. The G7 nations are the US and a bunch of vassals. Do you want me to list out the G7? Let's do that exercise, right? Let's do that exercise. G7 nations list. Oopsie daisy. Here we are. Group of 7. Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, UK, And US, it's the US and a bunch of vassals. France is a quasi independent nation, quasi sovereign nation, the most sovereign nation in the EU and the NATO combination, but they are still not entirely sovereign. So it's the US and a bunch of vassals. Now, what is the IMF, right? IMF, what is the IMF? International Monetary Fund. It is based out, it's a major financial agency of the UN, and its headquarters in Washington, D.C. That tells you everything you need to know. It's all controlled by the West, essentially by the US, right? So the US wanted to bail Pakistan out. They always will keep bailing Pakistan out. Are we in a position to see pressurizing the IMF means pressurizing the US? That's what it means. Are we in a position to pressurize the US? Do we have any leverage over the US? What does a nation like India use as leverage against the world's most powerful nation? Nothing, essentially. So we can't pressurize the IMF. Please understand that. That's how the world really works. These slogans of Viswaguru superpower, please ignore these slogans. We are nowhere close to being any of these things. All right. Okay, I am seeing this Barmer thing all over the place. The Pakistanis are playing mischief. So Suzanne says, should we recontinue? Should we restart Operation Sindoor? Maybe to some extent we should, just to send a message to Pakistan and maybe to the US as well. Maybe to the US as well. Maybe the US needs to be sent a message. Now, that IT guy says, why did India not mention the United States in any of its public interview and tweets that the US was involved, and what did it gain? Well, I'm sure we have good reasons for what we are doing. If the government of India has chosen not to speak of the US, then there must be good reasons for it. Now, I will not go into the speculations as to what those reasons could be. It's clear that maybe it looks like it looks like the government of India actually had larger objectives, slightly larger at least. It's possible that we didn't want to take back POK at this stage. Possible. But maybe we may have wanted to continue the operation a little bit longer. Maybe the Americans came in the way, possibly. It's possible. So in that case, the Americans have done us a disservice. They have come in our way. So when we make our statements and all that, we're not going to mention them. So Trump has tried to take the credit for everything, right? If you look at his tweet, it's really annoying. He's treating India and Pakistan as two nations that belong at the same level and as erring schoolboys, and he's the headmaster who has put them straight. That's the behavior he has shown, very annoying, but that's very much in line with his personality, and we can't afford to annoy the guy. So we have to, it's a long-term game. Presidents will come and go. We have to progress forward. So the Americans have come in our way, and they have actually kind of done something that we would not have liked. That's why we have probably most likely not mentioned the Americans anywhere. Okay. Annamalai says, what can we do to prevent the Pakistani jets from hitting our jets so easily? We are the fourth largest power. Where have the Pakistani jets hit our jets so easily? Are you another person who has fallen prey to Pakistani propaganda and American propaganda that we have lost like 78 fighter planes and 300 UFOs? Where do you have a shred of evidence that a single fighter plane belonging to India was hit anywhere? So I'll tell you, from whatever I know, to the best of my knowledge, we have used advanced fighter planes this time, which means we have not used MiG-21s like in 2019. We may have possibly, perhaps, I'm speculating, we may have possibly perhaps used Mirage fighter planes, perhaps. We may have used Sukhoi 30s, perhaps. And we may perhaps have used Rafales. It's all perhaps, okay? I was not there. and I don't have any official information. I'm just speculating here. So we have not used the ancient MiG 21. Now, in case we have used the advanced fighter planes, in 2019 we had short range rockets, or whatever it was, the Russian rockets that were used for dogfights. Today we have standoff missiles. So we have missiles that have ranges of 150, 200 kilometers, or maybe more. So we don't need to engage in close visual range combat with fighter planes anymore. We can kill a Pakistani F-16 or JF-17 from a range of 200 kilometers, right? They don't have missile. Okay, they have a Chinese missile apparently with a 200-kilometer range, and those missiles were found in India, completely intact. Yeah, and there is some speculation that the Chinese missiles ran out of fuel, and that's why they fell. It is, I think, more likely that we did something else to the Chinese missile. Something else. Something else. Magic. Magic. And it fell. So look, I don't know what you are and what belief you are struggling under, that apparently Pakistani jets have hit our jets easily. What are you talking about? Where's the evidence? Show me evidence, right? Show me one image from the last 3 days. Show me one video from the last 3 days. Show me some shred of evidence that an Indian jet was hit anywhere. Nothing. Nothing has happened. So please don't fall prey to propaganda. Please don't do that. It hurts me to see my people falling prey to stupid propaganda. Please don't do that, friends. Please. Amisha says, how can we become self reliant in the case of technology? By investing more in research and development. See, it needs to be a multi stage process. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just look at how other nations have done it, the successful ones. What are examples of successful nations in terms of technology? It's the US, it's Japan, it's China also now, right? It's also Russia. So these are successful nations, the Western nations. But we look at the most successful ones. So the US, how are they so successful in terms of technology? It's because of their higher academic system and the overall academic system. Their education system is no longer that good actually at the lower levels. But at the university, at the college, especially the university level, it's all research based, research oriented. All their academics, they actively conduct research. If you are not capable of conducting research, you are not allowed to become a full-time professor or a tenure track professor. You don't get tenure. You're thrown out if you are not capable of doing research. So only people who are capable of doing high quality research are allowed to be promoted to higher academic levels. That's called a meritocracy. In India, you have this goddamn system of reservation, and there is absolutely no emphasis on research in India. Once you become a professor, you do nothing for the rest of your life, essentially. You take classes and drink chai in your goddamn staff room. That's all you do. The Indian education system is horrific. It's worse than it's a cruel joke on the nation. Hmm? So how do you become self-reliant in the case of technology? You have to reform the education system, the higher education system, the professors, all the professors, readers, whatever levels you have, they have all to be research oriented. You need to give them the funds to do high quality research, and you have to throw out those who are not capable of doing any research, who are not who are unwilling to do research. Get rid of them all and get in people who really are passionate about research, scientific research, right? R&D, research and development. So every university department of whether it's engineering, whether it is applied physics, whether it's chemistry, whether it's whatever, biotechnology, all these departments in all the Indian universities have to be research oriented. They should be doing real research. So then you have a huge pool of highly talented, highly motivated people who are very well paid and who are very well funded for doing all kinds of research. Then you can tap into all of them, and if required, bring them into other institutes, maybe defense institutes, do for 1 year this sort of research, then you go back to your thing. Or maybe do it for 2 years, or maybe do for 6 months. Come and work as a consultant. We need you, and we'll pay you well. We'll reward you well for your work, for your time, and so on. That's how it has to be. That way, the whole system feeds technology to the nation, and then you have access to the best technology in just 5 to 10 years. That's what you need to do. It's absolutely possible. Just learn from the others, right? Learn from the Americans, learn from the Chinese. The Chinese simply copied the American system. That's why they are so ahead in technology today. That's what you have to do. First step is end this nonsense of reservations. If you want to give reservations, give it on the basis of financial status, of the financial situation of a person, not caste or whatever. And there should be no reservation when it comes to promoting people. Only promote the best. Only promote the best. Okay. Okay, once again, I'm getting this. Arnab is saying ceasefire violations again. Drones and firing tonight repeated. I think we need to give it back twice as hard. Should be twice as hard. Annamalai says it's not propaganda. Okay, so I saw the DGMO press conference today. They did not openly say it, but it's pretty clear that we lost a few. It's fine to lose in war, but we have to improve. Okay, listen. Okay. So you've not fallen prey to propaganda, but look, I was looking at the DGMO press conference today. They did not openly say anything that we lost, but they did kind of say that look, in warfare, you lose something. You lose some pieces of equipment at times, which is fine. But all our pilots are safe and sound, and they're back home. All of them are back home. So I think that can be interpreted in multiple ways if you want to. Okay, it doesn't make it pretty clear that we have lost a few. It makes it possible that we may have lost something. Please learn to interpret words properly. When the officer who was doing the press conference said that it's normal to lose some equipment or something like that during battle, but all the pilots, I can assure you, are safe and sound and they're back home. He said that. So it indicates that there is a possibility that perhaps we may have lost an aircraft, or maybe more than one. It doesn't mean it is clear that we have lost a few. Okay. And the second thing, look, it is normal. I'm not saying it's happened. Okay. I'm not saying it's happened. But in a large scale military engagement, you're going to lose some things. You're gonna take some hits, right? I mean, every day at the border when there is firing, the LOC, cross LOC ceasefire violations, from time to time we lose a soldier or two, right? It is horrible, it's terrible, but that is war. If you don't have the stomach to do that, to take that, then we are a nation of cowards, right? These are professional soldiers, and we salute them and we thank them for everything they do. These are professional soldiers, and they know that they are in a very dangerous and very risky profession, and they know what they're doing, and that they are willing to take the risk. And from time to time, soldiers die. In the past few days, we lost some 5 or 6 soldiers. It looks like 5, I think. So same way that we lose soldiers, sometimes you lose tanks, sometimes you lose a helicopter, sometimes you may lose a fighter plane. It's part of the deal. If you lose, let's say, a fighter plane, does it mean we lost the war? No, come on. So look at things in the right perspective. You may have the world's best fighter plane, but you're going to lose a few sometimes. Recently, the Americans were fighting the Houthis, right? The Houthis are essentially defenseless compared to American fighter planes that come from aircraft carriers. The Americans have lost F-18s against the Houthis. Does their nation go and sit and cry that, oh, we lost F-18? No one cares. They understand. They're a more mature nation. They understand that these things happen. In war, there are losses, but it doesn't mean that we've lost the war. There is equipment loss. Sometimes there's personnel loss. It's part of the game. So I don't know why we Indians obsess over these things. Okay, it is possible. I'm not saying it happened, but let's say hypothetically it happened. So what? So what? We have the funds to get more. We'll get more fighter planes. We'll get hundreds more. So, okay, Satyendra says this article at Reuters. First of all, Reuters hates us. Okay, anyway, let's see. Indian Air Force says losses are part of combat, but all pilots back home. Exactly what I was saying. Yeah. And then the article says we lost a few airplanes in the combat, quoting today's media briefing. My opinion is that we did not say that we lost an aircraft. We said that losses are part of combat, which kind of indicates perhaps we lost something. Perhaps. We also categorically said all pilots are back home safely. So it looks like possibly, perhaps, maybe we may have lost, but possibly something. Maybe hypothetically we lost, let's say, an aircraft. But so what? So what? Look at the damage we did to the Pakistanis. Look at what we did to the Pakistanis. We brought them to their knees. We destroyed all of their air bases. Everything was burning. We made a mockery of their air defense system. We inflicted so much damage in Pakistan. We destroyed their terror headquarters in Bahawalpur, in Sialkot, and God knows what places. See the damage we inflicted. Let's say we lost two or three or whatever hypothetically aircraft. So what? It's well worth the price. What's the big deal? I just don't know why Indians are so obsessed with, oh, we lost two aircraft or whatever. It happens. Grow up. Grow the hell up. Come on. Grow up. It happens. This is not child's play, right? This is big boys, where big boys play. In when you are big boys and you play, you're gonna have these things. It's part of warfare. You gotta accept it. Okay. Anshul says, what more can India do to improve its air defense system? Does India have satellite missile system or something like that? Why is India letting go of this opportunity? Hmm. Which opportunity are we letting go of having missiles and satellites? Um, Look, what first of all, I'm not sure which opportunity we're letting go, but it's a good question you've asked. So let me address the first part of it. What more can India do to improve its air defense capabilities, air defense systems? So one thing I can tell you from the battle testing our air defense system so the past 3 days is we've got probably the world's best air defense system. I think the Chinese will now be really, really worried what happens if there's a war with India and they want to use their air force. Until now, they've been thinking that we have these air force bases in Lhasa, in Shigatse, in Chinese occupied Tibet, and from there we can launch strikes at India. And they have those J-20s and slightly stealthy aircraft who are stealthy from the front but not stealthy from the back, that sort of thing. So they think that they can easily target Delhi and all that. Now I think they're going to be seriously worried. I'm not sure how stealthy those aircraft are, first of all. And we may have super good radars and whatnot. So we already have a very solid foundation when it comes to an air defense system. Of course, it can be improved. So what can be done? Density. One thing is density. So we can have more systems. Let's say we have 20 Akash systems. I'm just giving a hypothetical number. Let's say we have 20 Akash systems across the India-Pakistan border and LOC. Hmm? It's a very large area, but the Akash systems have a good range and all that. So we know which spots need to be defended. But what if instead of 20 we put 40 there? Then it's even more defended, right? So I think quantity has a quality of its own. You already have probably the best air defense system in the world, the Akash. So the quality is already there. Now you add even more quantity on top of that. My God, imagine what that does, right? And then you increase the range of the Akash system. I think it's already work in progress. So I'm not sure. Let's Google this, right? What's the range of the Akash system? Let's Google that. Let us Google that. I think we need to enhance the range. I think the work is already in progress. So Akash SAM range 4.5 to 25 kilometers. Okay. So it operates at a range of 4.5 to 25 kilometers. It's a medium range surface to air missile system designed to protect forces from aerial threats. And it engages targets from as low as 100 meters up to 20 kilometers. Now, the question is, what's the enhanced Akash gonna be like? Development is abstract Akash NG, new generation Akash NG. And what does the new generation do? It's going to have an overall range from increase the range from 25 to 30 kilometers to 70 to 80 kilometers, and it's going to have a scarier radar, and so on. So status: Indian Air Force, etc., Indian Army, operational history. So essentially my point is that we need to increase the range. I think the work is already in progress. What is Akash Prime? Akash Prime, etc., 2021. So you see, it's already being improved, iteratively improved. So what you need to do is have more systems so that the density increases, and enhance the range of the system so it becomes even scarier at longer distances. And then you should have multi layered systems. So you should have Akash, you should have Barak, which is a different range, you should have the S400, you should have other things, and layer it all together. That's what you do. So I think we are definitely doing very well on this front, but obviously when there's always room for improvement. We should eventually have our own S400, S500 kind of system, multi-layered system, and all that. So it all then fits together. So it's all being worked upon. Now, do we have satellite missile system or something like that? And why are we letting go of this opportunity? I can't answer your question. I am not aware of what we have up there, and we're not supposed to. We're not supposed to know what's up there. We have various kinds of satellites in various kinds of orbits. We have interesting kinds of satellites, and not all of our satellites are um, weather satellites or whatever, or whatever else. See, when the anti-satellite test was done by India in 2019 or whatever it was, we took out what we called a military satellite, one of the disposable military satellites we had. I think we said, okay, this one is it's disposable. Let's get rid of this one. So we identified one of our disposable military satellites and took it out with the kill vehicle. So we have what we call military satellites up there. Maybe they are simply remote sensing satellites, which is what some people would call spy satellites, which can look at what's happening on the ground, peer through clouds if required. Clouds don't matter. We'll see through the clouds, and maybe we will have good resolution. Like we can see something that is like, you know, a cell phone sized object. Perhaps it's possible we may have all those capabilities, and it's possible these satellites may have some other capabilities that we are not aware of. But obviously, we don't discuss this, right? So, in case we have certain capabilities that are interesting, it's not for the Indian public or the global public to know. Only the Indian government to know about these things. And then if the Indian people think that, oh, we are not doing this, well, so be it. Doesn't matter. So look at it from that perspective, right? Okay, okay. What else do we have? We have so many good questions. Apurva says, I believe India is building a strong case for absolutely decimating Pakistan, specifically because the US is concerned about the Pakistani nuclear bluff. What's my analysis? I think you make an interesting and really good point here. We have a multi pronged strategy for dealing with Pakistan. After what happened in the past 3 days, the Indus waters thing looks like nothing, right? Yeah. The Pakistanis are no longer concerned about the Indus Waters Treaty now. They are worried about what we're going to do immediately to the Pakistanis. But the Indus Waters Treaty is a squeeze we can apply in Pakistan slowly, gradually. And the longer the time goes by, the stronger the squeeze is going to be. Because we have dams coming up, run of the river dams coming up along various rivers in the Sapta Sindhu region. There are some dams which will be operational next year. Some by 27, by 2027, 2023, 28. Some dams will be operational in the very early 2030s. All these dams put together will give us the ability to significantly compromise the kind of water flow that goes into Pakistan. We're going to be able to stop it on demand, or significantly reduce it on demand, and then release it suddenly on demand, and so on. And this will enable us to make, to some extent, the Pakistanis behave, or to apply pain as and when required based on the behavior of the Pakistanis. See, we are not a cruel nation. We have no wish to apply cruelty to the innocent, hopefully innocent citizens of Pakistan. But if the Pakistanis behave in certain ways, we need to have the ability to apply pain. So the Indus Waters Treaty going into becoming abrogated is a very important development. And it's going to be used to apply more and more pressure on Pakistan going forward. So that is one thing. Okay. The second thing is, next time there is any kind of terrorist strike on India of any kind, we will treat it exactly like we would treat an act of war, and we will hit Pakistan once again, maybe harder than what we have hit this time. And it looks like, I don't know which air defenses Pakistan can buy going forward. The Chinese ones don't work. And even if the Chinese identify the flaws in their air defenses and fix them, that's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. Um, and by that time, we will also have found countermeasures to an enhanced Chinese air defense system and so on. So it's going to be interesting, but but Pakistan is very much going to be on the back foot going forward. So I think, and the strong case we are building for decimating Pakistan is not a set of evidence we will give to the world. We are no longer concerned anymore about proving to the world that Pakistan is a terrorist nation. The Indian government is no longer concerned about proving to the world anything. Now we know what Pakistan is, and we will act accordingly. That's the only thing. So, so firstly, if these ceasefire violations continue, then maybe something could happen. If the ceasefire is respected by the Pakistan, if it's honored by the Pakistanis, but if they do terrorism again in the future, then we will again reduce their air force bases to rubble. And overall, I think we have to work with the international community, especially the more civilized nations. We have to work with them to isolate Pakistan diplomatically and economically. And there are lots of measures we can take without involving other nations for isolating Pakistan economically, especially. I've said this in the past, I'll say this again. I've said this on other podcasts. We need to use the leverage of our enormous Indian market to apply pressure on Pakistan. So just isolate them. You have companies like KFC, like McDonald's, like Pizza Hut, like whatever else, right? All these companies, we tell them, if you want access to the Indian market, you need to move out of Pakistan. Or if you want to keep on doing business in Pakistan, well, you're free to do it, but you can no longer do it in India. So it's either us or them. You choose what you want. So obviously, there's so much more business to be done in India than Pakistan. So we should force all these companies, Coke, Pepsi, whatever, get out of Pakistan. If you don't get out of Pakistan, you will not be allowed to do business in India. Yeah, that sort of leverage we can use. And then we can have all the nations cut sporting ties with Pakistan in the same way. Start with cricket, the easiest one. Tell the ECB, English Cricket Board, the Australian Cricket Board, tell the New Zealand Cricket Board, Sri Lanka, everybody, tell them, you guys want to have continued relations with India in cricket because all your money comes from that. Then you need to boycott Pakistan. If your cricketers want to play the Pakistan Super League or whatever it is, they're free to play, but they can no longer play in the IPL. They will get a life ban. So force these nations to cut off ties with Pakistan. That's what needs to happen now. That's what needs to. This is so easily possible. So easy. It is time to do that. So this is how you do a multi-layered approach, and you completely isolate Pakistan while starving it economically. You isolate diplomatically, economically, all these things, and you use the pressure of the Indus waters thing to hurt their economy because they are a terrorist nation. And whenever they do terrorism, which they will do in the future, you hit them militarily. And overall, over time, you degrade all their capabilities, and hopefully the Pakistani public will realize that it's time to get rid of the military. And then it's over. So that's what needs to happen. That's the end game. Okay. All right, let's see. Once again, I'm getting this. Drones are spotted again in Barmer. How should India respond to this? Will India consider this to be the act of war? I don't know. The government of India needs to look into this. I mean, I would consider it to be an act of war. If I was in charge, I would start Operation Sindoor again. But I don't have access to the knowledge and information that Prime Minister Modi has. So maybe, maybe I would be. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, if they are trying to hit civilians, the Pakistanis, then we should consider it to be an act of war, for sure. And if they're trying to hit the Indian military, then that's also an act of war. So let's see. Let's see. The Pakistanis, I think they're pushing their luck right now. They're pushing their luck. All right. So Noah Prime says, do you think Pakistan can bomb dams on the Indus and its tributaries using terrorists? This way, they can give excuses that Kashmiris are doing that and put India on the back foot. Any action that targets a dam is by definition an act of war. Then there are no excuses to be given. You get smashed. The Pakistanis should not even consider or even dream of targeting a dam. Targeting a dam is in any civilized country an act of war. Okay, so yeah, if any Pakistanis are watching and they're considering this, be careful, bro. Be careful, folks. Don't you ever try that. Don't you ever try that. Don't you even think of doing that. Right. Sriram says, how can downed fighter pilots who eject over enemy territory be quickly located and rescued before being captured? Okay, rescued before being captured. As in, let's say you have, okay, hypothetical example. Let's try a funny hypothetical example. Let's say the US and the Canadians are fighting. And there's an American fighter plane that goes down over Canadian territory. And the American pilot ejects using his ejection seat. And he then parachutes into Canadian territory. Hmm? So he's in enemy territory. And the Canadians are now looking for him. Where did the guy go? Oh, we saw a parachute there. Let's go. So the first thing you do as a pilot who has landed in enemy territory is you ditch the parachute and start putting as much distance as quickly as possible between you and the parachute. Now, every pilot will go who gets into an aircraft will have some weaponry with him. I think a pistol and some other things, just in case, especially if you're going on a combat mission. If you're doing a training mission, if you're going on a training sortie, then you don't go with any weaponry. But if you go on a combat mission over enemy territory, you carry some weapons with you. So you do that, and then hopefully you try to make your way back into your own territory, and maybe your Air Force knows that you have gone down, so they may launch a rescue mission or something, and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's typically how it's done. Right. Okay. Let's see some other questions. Once again, local. Whoops. What? Go. Okay. So many questions coming in very quickly. Does selling our military equipment expose our technology to the buyer if the buyer can afford to dismantle the $1 billion equipment and reverse engineer it? When you sell equipment to a third party, to a non-Indian party, it's always a possibility that they can reverse engineer it after dismantling it. That's what the Chinese have done over and over again to the Russians. The Chinese did that over and over again to all Russian equipment. They dismantled it, reverse engineered it, and created local copies. Fighter planes, Sukhoi 27s, they were turned into Chinese fighter planes and whatnot. There's always that risk. So what generally happens, okay, is that you have an export version of your equipment. You have, let's say, an LCA Tejas fighter plane, okay? So you have a fighter plane, and then okay, I'll take that question also before it goes. You take that fighter plane, but you create a different version which is slightly stripped down and slightly low technology, and that you call the export version, and that's what you export. That's what you generally do. So the F-35s the Americans want to sell to India, they will not be the F-35s the Americans have. The American F-35s will be more advanced. They will sell us a more basic version. That's what happens. Okay, Vikas says a video of a burning downed fighter plane was shown on Republic TV for a few minutes. Then our army personnel called to move on. Yeah, it's true. Multiple Pakistani fighter planes apparently I'm saying, have come down over in Indian soil. Okay, apparently, but the government has said nothing about it, so we don't discuss it. There must be good reasons for it, and I've already explained the reasons for it, so we'll not discuss it. There has been evidence that things came down, right? All right, now let's see. I'm trying to pick a question that just moves away. There are so many questions flowing in. Udit says, when can we expect a Balochistan-like insurgency in Chattogram? I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. Can't say. Sumit says, when is the Chavda Index 2025 going to come out? Many rankings will be changed now. Many rankings have changed now. And thank you for reminding me. And this actually, I'm working on it. It may come out in a week's time. Definitely before 1st of June, it will come out. The enhanced and updated Chavda Index. So it's coming. Thank you for the reminder, and I'm working on that. All right. Shivam talks about this. China's Brahmaputra mega dam near Arunachal acts as a knife at India's throat, giving it the power to trigger floods or droughts in the northeastern Bangladesh. How can India overcome this? India can't do a thing about this as long as the Chinese occupy Tibet. Okay, it's something we have to live with. Now we have to always also remember this, that 80% of the water of the Brahmaputra river, it flows from India itself. Only 20% of the water comes from Tibet. 80% of it comes from the forests of Arunachal. So if the Chinese decide to block the water, we may have a shortfall of about 20% downstream. Of course, 20% is not a small number. It can really be very significant. But yeah, so it's something we have to always keep in mind. We have put the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance. We've abrogated it, or whatever we call it. So it also gives the Chinese the excuse to do that against us in the future if they so desire. So we're gonna have to keep this in mind, and that is something the Chinese have. That's some leverage the Chinese have over us, and we gave them the leverage when we allowed them to capture Tibet. Tibet should have been our protectorate, and our leadership at the time allowed this to happen. So there we have it. So we have to deal with it now. The mistakes of those who came before us, we have to pay for them. Okay. Did DG Air Ops of IAF just accept that we did down some Pakistani jets? I have not seen that part, but I know that we have downed some fighter planes. I know that it's happened, and some of them went down in Pakistani soil, okay, over Pakistani airspace. So Ojas says you switch to French accent suddenly. Very yes, I do sometimes. It happens. It happens when you know multiple languages, so sometimes some accent leaks in. It happens. It's always nice to know multiple languages, you see. Okay, I need to perhaps right now. Aries Manticore says, why is the Supreme Court interfering with the affairs of the Indian Army and Air Force? I'm not aware of it, so I'll not discuss it. McLevin says, we brought Pakistan to its knees before my bookshelf tour. Okay, thank you for the reminder for that. Yeah. Bharat says, what was the alarming evidence or intelligence which led J.D. Vance to call Prime Minister Modi and made him agree to a ceasefire? Was it a nuclear leak? I think there was a nuclear radiation leak somewhere in Pakistan. We hit something which was very sensitive. We did not hit any nuclear reactors. That would have been a Chernobyl-like event. But it looks like we hit a nuclear storage facility, or maybe multiple nuclear storage facilities, which would have broken the nuclear warheads and exposed the fissile material, which can certainly, if there's an explosion and if the uranium or plutonium, because of the high temperature of the explosion, let's say it evaporates, then there's a nuclear leak for sure. Some part of it evaporates, or some part of it becomes what do you call it, it breaks up into small pieces and it flies all over the place, then there's a nuclear leak for sure. So that is one scenario that we can consider, that there was a nuclear leak, and it looks like there was, because the Americans have sent a plane with technicians who deal with nuclear leaks. So we have done that. That's one thing. The other thing is that the Pakistanis were really facing the heat, and they must have threatened the Americans that we will resort to our nuclear option. So they know what buttons to press when it comes to America. And the Americans are scared. They panic when Pakistanis say that we will use nukes. So that's why, most likely, the Americans panicked and they intervened. Lalit says the Pakistani army admitted that they were actually behind the Pulwama terror attack. Everything is out in the open now. Now it's this question of whether Pakistan is a terrorist nation or not. I think we need to move past that. Their defense minister has admitted multiple times on TV, on Western TV, that the Pakistanis have been conducting terrorist operations for decades on behalf of the West, the US, the UK, and the West. The Pakistan defense minister officially has said this multiple times. The Pakistan information minister, whatever he is, the Bilawal Bhutto, that fellow, he also said that once on Western TV. It's all there on the public record. Okay? So they have all admitted this. Now, after we conducted the airstrikes over and took out Pakistani terrorist camps, and very high ranking senior terrorists died, the Pakistani military gave them state funerals, full military honors and state funerals, right? And existing alive terrorists were standing along with high-ranking senior Pakistani military operation officials, and on the coffins there were Pakistani flags, and in the coffins there were dead bodies of terrorists. It proves that the Pakistani ISI military and terrorism industries are the same thing. It's the same entity. And now some Pakistani army senior army official admitted that they were behind Pulwama. So I think we have to move past the question of whether Pakistan is a terrorist nation or not. There is no question now of us proving anything. We will not waste any more time or energy or effort furnishing more evidence for anyone. Asking people will ask you, what's the evidence? We can tell them to, what's the polite way of saying it? Go take a hike. This is the nation that harbored Osama bin Laden. This is the nation that created the Taliban. This is the nation whose citizens flew aircraft into the World Trade Center towers. This is the nation that did the Mumbai attacks, Ajmal Kasab, and so on. I mean, how much more evidence do you want? Go take a hike now. If somebody asks for evidence, tell them to take a hike. Enough. Karan Nalawat says Turkey has betrayed us, while USA and China back the terrorist nation Pakistan, which attacked our civilians. Shouldn't we reconsider our principles and respond to our enemies in the same way? Look, we should never resort to terrorism, and we will never do that. But we have to understand that we have no friends. Look, the Turks haven't betrayed us. The Turks have done what Turks do. They have simply followed their existing path. Just because we went out of our way to help them when there was an earthquake doesn't mean that they had to reciprocate and be nice to us. Look, you know what is that saying in Hindi, kahawat thing? If you offer milk every day to a snake, you think that snake will become good? I mean, why are Indians so naive? Why are Indians so naive? There's this Jataka tale, right? I think that there is a frog who is crossing a river, and the scorpion tells the frog that, look, bro, I don't know how to swim. Can you carry me across? So the frog says, okay, come on, hop onto my back, and I'll cross you. I'll take you across the river. And so the scorpion hops onto the frog's back, and the frog jumps into the river and is swimming across. And while they both are in the middle of the river, the scorpion stings the frog, and the frog says, "I'm dying. Why did you do this?" The scorpion says, "I'm a scorpion. What else will I do?" And they both drown. So we have all this wisdom from thousands of years ago, but we still think the Turks have betrayed us. What is the point of having thousands of years of wisdom when we can't see that the Turks will always behave this way? The Turks will obviously behave this way. The Pakistanis will always behave the way a Pakistani behaves. Why are we so surprised? Why are we so hurt? Why are we so naive? I just don't get it. It's so frustrating. We should stick to our principles. We should understand the world for what it actually is. And once you understand how they are going to behave, then you will not feel you're betrayed. And you should anticipate that they will always do this. Come on. Shreyas says, why doesn't India attack power stations, grids, industries, agricultural lands in Pakistan, apart from military and terrorist units? Because once you start doing these things, you're going into that's what you do when you're in a full-fledged war. That's what you do when you're in a war of attrition and other things are not working. So these assets of the enemy, they certainly are possibly legitimate assets during war. I mean, if you look at the history of warfare, these things have happened. Look, right now, there's another war happening, Russia-Ukraine. The Russians haven't attacked Ukrainian power stations mostly. Most of the country of Ukraine has power. The Russians haven't attacked that. They haven't attacked Ukrainian industries. A lot of industries are still operating, by the way, in Ukraine. How do you attack agricultural lands? You're going to shoot missiles into fields or what? What does that achieve? It helps farmers. Oh yeah, you've helped me till the field. My point is, you don't resort to such things until you are in a situation where there is no other option. Um, and if you do that, some your enemies will call you, unprincipled, and they will say that you have committed crime against humanity or something. It gives them the opportunity to paint you, to tar you, to tar you with that brush. You don't want to do that. As far as possible, stick to military targets and terrorist targets. Pakistan is full of these. There are way more terrorist targets. We know where they are, all the terror camps and all that. So when it comes to Pakistan, we should stick to doing that. We should next time this thing happens, which will happen soon, I'm sure. We should take out their more of their military capabilities. That's what we need to do. Right. Okay, Twitly says, "What's the advantage of opening a brahmos production factory in Uttar Pradesh? And will the intel about brahmos be leaked in such factories? What's the advantage of having a brahmos factory? Well, we get more brahmos missiles. Let's say we have 10,000 right now. Maybe we want 20,000. Maybe we want 10,000 more. I'm just giving a fictitious number. So if we have new factories, we have more missiles that we can manufacture as and when we require. So that's the advantage. Now, can intel about the brahmos be leaked in such factories? Well, you have to be careful about this. There are a set of precautions you take in such factories, right? Where you manufacture sensitive and high quality and very such kind of defense equipment which is very wanted by others. So you take precautions, a set of precautions, standard operating procedure. Ashutosh says drones are getting spotted in Barber, Rajasthan. The Pakistanis are I think they're pushing their luck. Let's see what happens. Okay. Shri Jawaharlal Nehruji, the great magnificent leader. The leader is right, the future is bright. So Shri Jawaharlal Nehruji asks, is everything over now or is it just a beginning? The war isn't over. We are in a state of war with Pakistan. As long as you have a terrorist nation next to you, you are in a state of war. Sometimes the war is hot, sometimes the war is calmed down, but it's a state of war. And the moment they get an opportunity, they're going to hit us. The only way the war will be over is it's going to happen the day Pakistan ceases to exist the way it exists right now. So it's not over right now. For now, for a certain period of time, perhaps we will not have war. But right now, as we see, I've been seeing for the past 2 hours, my viewers are reporting that there are ceasefire violations. So this person is asking, but other people are reporting that there are drones being spotted in Barmer and other things. So let us see. Let us see. Bobby says, why do certain Eastern Asians try to dye their hair blonde? It looks stupid on them. I don't know. It's true. I mean, it's a funny question, but it's true. I mean, if we look at the South Koreans, they love having blonde hair. It's not natural for them, right? People from Asia, we generally don't have blonde hair. We have darker hair. But lots of people from Eastern Asia, Southeast Asia, not Southeast Asia, Eastern Asia, especially the Koreans, they love to have blonde hair. I don't know why. All right. Okay, Shashwat Pandey says Pakistan is giving a press conference or media briefing. Well, if we do something, they have to do it, right? Pakistan, their entire existence, it revolves around us. If our military does a press briefing, they have to do one, right? They have to always try to one up India. So, what can I say? Okay, AAG says, if drones are sent in swarms, is this not to be considered as an act of war? Why didn't we retaliate to yesterday and today's drone swarming? I'm not sure what exactly happened. If you send drone swarms into your neighbor's airspace, then it is a violation of airspace for sure. But now, what did the drones do? Did they try to hit targets, military or civilian? So it depends on what the drones do. If the drones come in and we shoot them down, then it is certainly a violation of the ceasefire. Now it's up to us to decide how to respond to that violation. Maybe India is trying to show the US that, look, we are showing a tremendous amount of restraint. We are trying to respect Donald Trump. The Pakistanis are disrespecting Donald Trump. I'm sure there is back and forth communication happening between India and the US at this point in time.
I'm sure it's happening right now. So we have to show the US, because they are more powerful and they are the bigger nation, that we are trying our best to keep things calm. The Pakistanis are doing it, and maybe tomorrow we will hit back, or maybe tonight we will hit back. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, the Pakistanis seem to be pushing their luck, and you simply can't trust these fellows. We simply can't trust them. Um, Luffy says, "Is the current Indian military stronger than the 2000 US military?" Not by no chance. Absolutely not. No comparison. The 2000 US military was way, way, way stronger than today's Indian military. You can't compare anything with the US military. Today's Russian military is also not comparable to the 2000 US military. Okay? Very, very different. Arya Dorji says, "Love your content, admire your wealth of knowledge from Nagaland." Thank you so much. And yeah, my greetings to you and my regards from here. Good to have somebody from Nagaland watching. I really appreciate that. Okay. With its Witcher, Henry Cavill. All right, all right. Abhishek Sahu says, "Is Khwaja Asif our bestest of friend?" Oh, come on, man. Khwaja Asif is our best friend, isn't he? I wonder how long he will last now, because he has really, really taken a beating. He has taken a big humiliation from Pakistan, from India, the defeat. Okay, now where was that question? It came and disappeared. Tushar says India confirms shooting down military jets of Pakistan. All right, that's good. That's good. That's good. I'm happy to hear that. Can we build? Hitesh says, "Can we rebuild our education like in ancient India? If someone builds temples with schools with modern, factual, correct information, which are free of cost, as the temples fund the school with the donations." This can only happen if there is state support for that. In ancient India, the temples were the centers of education. In every small town, every village, everywhere you had temples everywhere. India was a land of temples, and temples were not just places of worship, they were places of education. So in a village, your little kids would go to the temple, they would learn basic 1 plus 1 equal to 2 maths, and basic vyakran, and grammar and stuff like that. Then if you wanted to go to a higher place, then you could go to a larger city, and so on. So it was all state sponsored. The king, the emperor of the place would uh, do that, and would subsidize all that, would fund everything. Today's government doesn't give you free education, right? So that's the problem. That's the issue. um, Guru Shetty says, "You only take questions asked by paid members." What on earth are you talking about? Excuse me? What imaginary world are you living in, sir? I don't. What? I have switched off super chats. Do you know why? Because I want everybody to be able to ask questions. This is ridiculous. Okay. Okay, Andhra Pradesh. Thank you so much. Good. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And thank you for your viewership. Where did we go? Shivam says, "Will this ceasefire last?" I think it looks like it will all depend on India's patience. How patient is India going to be? I just don't get it, why we are so patient. I will not take stupid questions. Sorry. So I will not take it. Um, mm, okay. Pratham says, "How to denuclearize Pakistan?" Uh, that's a great question. And I'm sure it's a big conundrum for India right now. Like, Putin wants to denazify Ukraine, and we need to denuclearize Pakistan. Once Pakistan is denuclearized, we can deal with it. But the issue is that nuclear thing that they have. Um, so I'm sure there's going to be some plan for doing that at the right time. I'm sure it involves lightning fast action of some kind. That's what I would say. Okay. Uh, Posts on X, says Universe. Posts on X suggest that IF also hits some nuclear facilities. Isn't this risky, as it would leak and carry through wind radioactive materials at far off distances, including Indian states? Look, it's not risky. We did not hit nuclear power plants. We did not hit nuclear reactors. We have an agreement with Pakistan that we will not target each other's nuclear installations. So Pakistan will have nuclear reactors or power plants, one or two somewhere, I suppose. We will not target those. What we have targeted is military facilities. Now, some of those military facilities may have stored nuclear weapons. A nuclear weapon is not a nuclear reactor. If you hit a nuclear reactor with a missile or a bomb, you're going to have nuclear meltdown, and you're going to have nuclear material which will go all over into the atmosphere, and it's going to be a disaster, like what happened in 1986, Chernobyl. If you hit a nuclear weapon storage site with a missile, which possibly could have happened, then that material will probably melt and some of it may evaporate, but just a little bit. Because, see, a nuclear warhead, if it has plutonium, and if it's a kiloton scale warhead, you may have maybe 2 to 5 kilos of plutonium in one warhead. I'm giving a very rough, perhaps incorrect figure, perhaps knowingly, but something like that, ballpark. Maybe 5 kilos roughly of plutonium. If 5 kilos of plutonium is hit with a missile, it's not going to leak all over the atmosphere, nothing. It may melt, perhaps. I don't know. What's the melting point of plutonium? Let us Google that. What's the melting point of plutonium and also uranium? So, melting point of plutonium. 6. Okay, it can certainly melt. Let's see uranium. Uranium 1132. 235 will be the same as 230, whatever. 1132 degrees. So uranium is harder to melt. Plutonium melts rather easily. What about evaporation? At what temperature? Okay, 4,000. So that's very hard. It's hard to make it evaporate. Plutonium. 3. Okay, so we have no fear of plutonium or uranium evaporating, but they'll both melt. If you have a proper missile strike, it may melt, but it won't evaporate. So then there's no question of it forming any kind of cloud or whatever. You see what happens here? That's how you look at. That's how you investigate a question that you have. So if you hit a bomb, a warhead with a missile and it has plutonium inside, the plutonium will most likely melt and then solidify again once the fire is gone and after a few hours. The uranium may also melt, but neither will evaporate and so on. So it's going to cause some kind of issue, some kind of leakage. Maybe the plutonium fragments, and there are hundreds of pieces of the warhead, and there are hundreds of shards and fragments of plutonium, maybe uranium. Maybe that's a far-fetched scenario, but I'm just saying. In which case there is radiation leakage and so on. So not to worry. See, we are responsible, right? We don't do such things. Now, geopolitical Dubai says the USSR was a nuclear power, but disinterested, successful by US, disinterested, even broken up. But no, why not Pakistan? Because the USSR was their enemy. It was their big adversary. Pakistan is a little thing, and they can use it against India. That's why they don't want to let Pakistan disintegrate at this point in time, because they want to use it as leverage against us to make us behave in certain specific ways. So there we have it. Shri Ramachandraya Namaha says Rafale stock prices rise up despite propaganda. Okay, I'm glad, because nothing happened. Nothing happened. The Rafale has done well. Obito Uchiha says, how long will it take to start the practical use of newly tested scramjet engine? Right. Anime, manga. Okay, so how long will it take us to start practical use of the newly tested scramjet engine? So we have tested a scramjet engine, a supersonic combustion ramjet engine, SC ramjet scramjet, and that we have been able to the test burn was more than 1000 seconds. So that is shocking, and it turns us from non-participant to a front runner, essentially. So I think testing will be done, will probably start next year. I think we're going to have a technology demonstrator vehicle that will be tested with this supersonic combusting ramjet, which is a scramjet. and maybe by next 3 4 years we may be able to deploy it in actual hypersonic missiles. So we won't take too long. Now that we have this shockingly great technology, we're going to start integrating it with the actual testing uh, solutions quickly. And once it is tested a few times, we can start deploying it in limited quantities, try and test it more. And once it is reliably tested thoroughly, then we can deploy. So it'll take a while. That's a process you have to follow. But yeah, we are making great progress. Great progress. Okay, what else do we have? Can you do a comparison between the S-400, L-70, and Akash air defense? The S-400 has a maximum range of 600 to 400 kilometers. Huge! And it has multiple missiles. It's a multi-layered air defense system. There's a 400-kilometer range missile with a radar that has a range of 600 kilometers. There's probably a 200-kilometer range missile, possibly. I have no, okay, look, I don't have the details right now. But there are multiple missiles of different ranges. There are short range missiles also, like 20-kilometer range, possibly, that sort of thing. It's a very sophisticated and very complicated system. It's very hard to operate. You need a lot of training and you need a certain amount of IQ to be able to operate the S-400. Okay, so that's the S-400, probably the most sophisticated missile, anti-missile, or aerial defense system in the world. It can take out incoming medium to short range ballistic missiles, long range rockets, cruise missiles, fighter planes, drones, whatever. But you only use it for high value targets. You don't use it for killing drones. You use it for something bigger. So that's the S-400. Then there is the Akash air defense, which has a range, shorter range, 25-kilometer range or something. And the Akash system can track multiple incoming targets at the same time, and it seems to be shockingly good. It has taken everything out. It is a bigger superstar than the S-400 right now, the Akash system. And the future upcoming versions of the Akash system will have a range of maybe 75 kilometers, maybe 100 kilometers. So it's going to be even more scary now going forward. And it may eventually transmogrify into an Indian version of an S-400 system. Once you add different kinds of missiles together into one integrated package. The L-70 is a 1940s gun, but it has been enhanced with various 21st century technological additions, and it has turned into a complete beast also. So it can automatically track targets and wipe them out without human intervention, apparently. Incredible what we have done with the means that we have at our disposal. Anonymous says, do you think India will be able to save Manipur? I think India will save Manipur. Right now, I know Manipur is suffering and nobody cares. See, when 25 tourists are killed in Kashmir, the whole nation goes to war against Pakistan. More people have been killed in Manipur. More native indigenous people have been killed. Nobody cares because nobody knows what Manipur is. Nobody knows where it is. Nobody has been there. And the government also seems to be ignoring it for whatever reason. It's not really ignoring it, but there are other, I suppose geopolitical compulsions, perhaps. I don't know. It's bad. It's bad, and it's a failure of the government right now. But I am hopeful that we will save Manipur because it's our land, it's our people. We got to save them. Okay, I tried to take a question, it disappeared. Surya Pawan says, "Am I disappointed? Am I disappointed about the ceasefire? Yes, I am. I wanted India to take POK by today morning, actually. So I am disappointed, but I understand why we have done because what we have done because there are things that I don't know about. There are other parameters that come into play that I don't have the knowledge of. See, there are things the prime minister knows that we people don't know. There are things that are known at a certain level. There's information that's available at a certain level which changes your calculations. So it's very easy for us to sit in these nice comfortable air conditioned rooms and blah 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 blah, say all kinds of things and give all kinds of advice while knowing nothing of what's really happening and what the real threats are. So I'm disappointed, yes, but I kind of understand. But who knows? Even today, I am not sure if my prediction may come true that in 14 days we will take POK or the borders will change. Who knows? It may still happen. Who knows? I'm still hopeful. I'm a super optimistic person. Okay. But it looks like my prediction is going to fail, which is okay, which is fine. It happens. You move on. And I've seen some comments, in I don't know where, on the YouTube channel, taunting me. Oh, what happened to your prediction? People are so petty. So what if I made a prediction and it failed? So what? Anyway, people are so petty, and people like to just, you know be petty in this country. Nitpickers. Um, AAG says, do we have a big export market of BrahMos and Akash and other indigenous missiles and air defense system as of now? The Akash system, we have sold it to Armenia. BrahMos, I think we've sold to Philippines and Indonesia or something, but it's not a big market. We'll sell it only very, very, very selectively to certain countries. Daniel Irani says, as an Iranian Zoroastrian, I ask, how do you see uh, Pakistan's current crisis ending? You're a Zoroastrian from Iran. Wow, amazing. Yeah, we used to have lots of Zoroastrians here in India, but now the numbers are declining. Their birth rates have fallen very drastically. But it's nice to hear from an actual Zoroastrian from Iran. I think lots of Iranians should. I hear that in Iran, lots of people have given up the prevailing religion, and maybe I hear, I may be wrong, but I hear that about 50% of Iranians may be atheists today, and maybe they want to reconnect with their roots, but they're not sure how to. So I'm happy to see an Iranian person who's still a Zoroastrian, and I'm very glad to hear that. And the question is, how do I see Pakistan's current crisis ending? Um, right now, Pakistan has been given a reprieve by Donald Trump. They were on their knees. Their air defenses had been wiped out. Their uh, their airports, their air bases had been hit, targeted. Their runways had been cratered. It was, it looks like some nuclear storage sites, nuclear warhead storage sites have been hit. It looks like it was a very, very bad situation for Pakistan. Completely exposed, completely helpless. We were hitting them at will with various kinds of weaponry, whether it is missiles, whether it is aircraft strikes, whether it is drones. They were helpless. The Americans have come and saved them. And right now, it looks like India is trying to honor the ceasefire agreement, and the Pakistanis are provoking us by sending drones into our territory, and we are still right now trying to honor it. So, if the Pakistanis are careful and they don't dishonor the ceasefire, if they respect what we have agreed upon, then they will be able to go back to normalcy and rebuild everything that has been destroyed over the next six months or so. Rebuild the terrorism training camps, rebuild the terror infrastructure, rebuild the air bases, repair the runways, purchase new anti-aircraft air defense equipment. That may happen, but I think that Pakistan, like they say, a leopard doesn't change his spots. The Pakistanis, they are a terrorist nation, and they're going to continue terrorism. So I think eventually they're going to go back to their old ways. And the next time they do a terror attack against India, this is going to happen again. India is now going to have a new doctrine. We have a new doctrine going forward. Any terror attack against India, anywhere in India, is going to be considered to be an act of war, which means the same thing will happen again. We will again knock out their air defenses, again destroy their air bases, again crater their runways, maybe inflict even more pain. So, what's the solution? The solution is that this entity that runs Pakistan as a dictator, which is the military ISI terrorism entity. It's the same thing, different facets of the same entity. It needs to be thrown out of power. I think the people of Pakistan need to do that. But they have been brainwashed into believing that the Pakistani military, ISI, and terrorists, they are the ones who are standing between Pakistan and India, because they portray India as the great, implacable enemy who seeks to destroy Pakistan, which is not the case. We just want to be left alone by Pakistan. We were happy when we had a common border with Iran. India and Persia. We have always been neighbors for thousands of years. It's only recently that this artificial temporary nation has come in the way, and the day we have a border again with Persia will be the happiest day for a long time for our civilizations. Okay, we have crossed 3 hours and 10 minutes. I'll take a couple more questions. Um, I saw something and it disappeared. All right, where do we have it? Where do we have it? One second. Let me try and take the latest questions. Okay, Navdeep says, is denuclearization of Pakistan's nuclear threat possible? I just took that question just a while ago. It's difficult, and if we want to do it, we'll have to do it very fast. We should know exactly where it is, and so on. Priyank says BLA, Balochistan Liberation Army, issued a press statement claiming that they support India in eliminating the menace called Pakistan, and they shall help by attacking the western borders of Punjab. Well, I wish our Balochi brothers and sisters the best of luck. They deserve to have independence. They deserve to have their own independent country. They had that in 1947 until Jinnah instructed his army to attack and invade and occupy Balochistan. And since then, Balochistan has been persecuted and oppressed like nothing, like you can't imagine. So I hope that the Balochistan Liberation Army prevails in its independent struggle against the Pakistani military, ISI, and terrorism entity. Okay. Praveen says they will be independent very soon and connect with Baloch in Iran. I hope so. I hope so. Certainly. Um, okay. R. Rua says, why doesn't India have a doctrine to not have nuclear capable countries like Russia? I'm not sure what the question is. Does India have a nuclear doctrine? We do have a nuclear doctrine. We have a stated no first strike doctrine, which is okay. We have, look, the difference between India and a nation like the US, for example, is that we don't publish our military doctrines. The American military doctrines are available online. Would you like to see what it looks like? I'll do that. Give me a second. Um, this is our friend Google. Okay, US military doctrine. Okay, where do we have it? There we have it. See, jcs.mil, Joint Doctrine Publications. And here you have Doctrine Home, hierarchic chart, um, and a full list of joint doctrine publications and whatnot. So if you look into this, you can actually pull out PDFs of their doctrine, joint concepts, joint lesson, joint allied doctrine program. Okay, I'll not waste everyone's time by digging through this, but it's all available online. You can actually pull out their military doctrine and read it. Geopolitical Dubey says, in his second term, isn't Donald Trump interested in playing the red button game with Kim Jong Un? I think he's occupied with tariffs right now. He's preoccupied with Xi Jinping and China and encircling and isolating China right now. So Kim Jong Un, I think, is not near the top of his priorities at this point in time. Karan says, how long do you think the ceasefire will last? Do you think the war can resume? I think if the Pakistanis are not careful, the war may resume even tonight. So let's see. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong, because maybe that's not what we want to do. What did I see? Okay, Daniel Irani again. Yes, Indians and Persians share an ancient bond. May our friendship grow stronger. I completely agree. We are essentially sister civilizations, or maybe deeper than that. And we share ancient bonds, not just cultural bonds, but also blood bonds. We used to be the same people long, long back. The Persian language and the Sanskrit language were essentially the same thing about 3,000-4,000 years ago. So we have a very ancient bond, and it would be nothing would make me happier than see India and Persia reconnect again, and have the kind of bond we used to have in the past long ago. So I really hope that happens soon. So love from India to all our Persian brothers and sisters, especially the Zoroastrians. Okay, all right. So what do we do now? Let me take one more question and then we will wrap up for today. Okay, Vikram Suresh, this is a question I can't answer. How is AI being incorporated into the Indian military? As someone into AI research, I'm very interested in this field. Is active research and development being done in DRDO? DRDO, what they do, I'm not sure. It's for us to know. I hope that AI is being taken very seriously. We seem to have a national AI mission now, and various ministers have made statements that we will have our own LLMs and so on by the end of the year, which is great. But AI is it's not a toy. It's to be used for specific objectives and aims and ends. And I'm sure that we have people who understand that and are doing the right thing. So I think we are now the government of India is now, I'm sure, very serious about AI. So I am sure that it is now being incorporated everywhere into the R&D domain, the military domain, and so on. And I'm very hopeful that very soon we will be uh, one of the leading AI powers. All right. So with that, I'm gonna end today's live stream. Thank you so much for all your questions. Uh, and I'll see you. I'm not sure very when I'll see you next. Will I see you tomorrow? I don't, unless something big happens. I think we will not have a live stream tomorrow. But let's see. I don't know how things will go tomorrow, right? So otherwise, we'll have it sometime next week. Anyway, we do these live streams regularly. So thank you so much for all your questions, and I will see you very soon. Take care. Good night. Bye bye.